Tonight on the Black Channel, a lot of things are going on in the world right now, but this story is just happening here. Serious historical parallels, and I'd be remiss if I didn't discuss it here. Cesar Chavez, Latino civil rights icon, has had serious allegations of improper, illegal behavior with minors. We're going to go over this story here tonight, and actually I want to take you to the New York Times, who basically blew this up here, and we're going to review this in detail because there are a lot of dimensions to cover here and a lot is going on. Before I get off into it, I want to show you all just what the blowback is here. You can take a look on your screens and see. You can take a look on your screens here and see that they are already putting in the work here. Cesar Chavez Memorial recovered at Fresno State. California quickly moves to rename Cesar Chavez Day after sex abuse allegations. So they're taking down signs, they're taking down, covering up statues, they're revising things. I mean, they're going straight to work. They're going straight to work on Cesar Chavez. They are wasting no time. I mean, the New York Times makes the story and they said, yeah, no further investigation needed. Go ahead and yank it on down. And this is where we're at. So what I want to do here is I want to do what they're not doing otherwise. We're going to go in depth about this tonight. So there are a lot of dimensions to cover here. And for anybody who might be wondering why we should be talking about this, all this will be made clear. This is the story here. Times investigation. Cesar Chavez, a civil rights icon, is accused of abusing girls for years. An investigation by the New York Times found extensive evidence that the United Farm Workers co-founder groomed and sexually abused girls who worked in the movement. By Manny Fernandez and Sarah Huertas, says here that the reporters interviewed several women who told their stories for the first time, as well as more than 60 other people, including Cesar Chavez's top aides and relatives. The reporters also reviewed hundreds of pages of union records, confidential emails, photographs, and other material. So if you all will go back and remember Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, and remember who was investigating that about the underage females that Elijah Muhammad was accused, proven to be having relations with. So that's the first historical dots I want to connect, but there will be more. The story says here that Anna Murguia remembers the day the man she regarded as a hero called her house and summoned her to see him. She walked along a dirt trail, entered the rundown building, passed his secretary, and stepped into his office. Passed his secretary and stepped into his office. He locked the door, as he always did when he called her, and told her how lonely he had been. He brought her onto the yoga mat that he often used in his office for meditation, kissed her, and you can see the rest there. Don't tell anyone, he told her afterward. They'd get jealous. The man, Cesar Chavez, one of the most revered figures in the Latino civil rights movement, was 45. She was 13. Ms. Murguia said she was summoned for sexual encounters with him dozens of times over the next 4 years. Recently, more than 50 years later, Ms. Murguia learned that a street near her home in the Central California city of Bakersfield was in the process of being renamed. City officials want to name it in honor of her abuser. Cesar Chavez Boulevard Ms. Murguia and another woman, Deborah Rojas, say that Mr. Chavez sexually abused them for years when they were girls, from around 1972 to 1977. He was in his 40s and had become a powerful, charismatic figure who captured global attention as a champion of farm worker rights. Illegal aliens? Illegal aliens? Mm-hmm. The questions raised by the Times about Mr. Chavez, one of the most consequential figures in Mexican-American history, immediately prompted organizations with ties to him to try to distance themselves. The UFW canceled its annual celebrations honoring Mr. Chavez, a response to what the union he once led called, quote, profoundly shocking accusations. Marches to honor Mr. Chavez were called off in Austin, Texas, Tucson, Arizona, and elsewhere. Officials in multiple states said they would consider renaming the scores of streets and schools named in his honor. Quote, none of us knew, Governor Gavin Newsom of California said on Wednesday, noting that he planned to discuss with legislators whether to rename Cesar Chavez Day on March 31st. Ms. Murguia and Ms. Rojas, both of whom are now 66, were the daughters of longtime organizers who had marched in rallies alongside Mr. Chavez. He used the privacy of his California office to frequently molest Ms. Murguia, she said. He had known her since she was 8 years old. She became so traumatized that she attempted to end her life multiple times by the age of 15. I wanted to die, she said. So this is him here, it says, and that this is Anna Murguia right there at the time. I've got thoughts and opinions on this, as you all know, because I'm taking a look at her. Yes, I'm going to go there tonight. I'm taking a look at her. I'm also taking a look at the female behind her. I'm taking a look at her. I'm taking a look at the female behind her. We're going to get into a little bit of a cultural conversation here tonight because we've touched on this before, but this is something in particular I think does need to be discussed. By the way, we'll come back to that. Ms. Rojas said that she was 12 when Mr. Chavez first touched her inappropriately, groping her in the same office where he'd meet with Ms. Murguia. When Ms. Rojas was 15, he arranged to have her stay at a motel during a weeks-long march through California. She said, and had intercourse with her. Rape under the state law. I mean, it's all right. That needs to be clarified. You didn't get it the first time? Apparently the New York Times was confused. Because she was not old enough to consent, Ms. Murguia said Mr. Chavez molested her but never had intercourse with her. Why is your daughter being sent off to go stay somewhere without you? If this is accurate here, I'm just curious now. Why exactly is your daughter being sent somewhere to go stay without you? Why is that occurring? Remember, they were far more conservative back then, allegedly. But by the way, why? 15 years old? Oh, don't worry. She's with Cesar here. He'll take care of the rest. Really? Because she walked past the secretary and all these other folk and whatnot. And she wasn't the only one, allegedly, here. So this right here, I'm like, okay, great parenting here. Parents of the year here, if I ever saw them. They go on to say here that the abuse allegations appear to be part of a larger pattern of sexual misconduct by Mr. Chavez, much of which has never been publicly revealed. I wonder why not. What took you all so long? The man's been dead for decades. He's been dead for a while. So the first thing is he's not here to defend himself. That's the first thing. So I will acknowledge that. I'm not saying that that's the defendant or whatever. I'll just say one thing. He isn't here to acknowledge. He isn't here to defend himself anymore. But by the way, yeah, why did y'all wait so long? He's been dead for a while now. Why'd you wait so long? The Times investigation found that Mr. Chavez also used many of the women he worked and volunteered in his movement for his own sexual gratification. His most prominent female ally in the movement, Dolores Huerta, said in an interview that he sexually assaulted her, a disclosure she has never before made public. Many of the women stayed silent for decades, both out of shame and for fear of tarnishing the image of a man who has become the face of the Latino civil rights movement, his image on school murals, and his birthday, a state holiday in California. And folks, I need to remind you here, well, I just showed you there before. Did you all realize it didn't take a conviction? It didn't take a legal investigation, no government required. All it took was one news story from the New York Times that I'm currently reviewing with you all here. All it took was one news story and folks started moving. Now, isn't that interesting? Now, for us, they tell us, oh, you got to have a plebiscite and we have to have a committee and a commission and a study and all this old stuff right here. But, oh, yeah, when they want to move, a story from the New York Times, no public outcry required, and all of a sudden, folks in the government start moving. New York Times on the other side of the country from Los Angeles and California started moving because the New York Times printed an article. No protests, no demonstrations, no investigations, no committees, no commissions, no anything of that required. They went straight to work. So when they tell you and me about what they can't do, and oh, it takes time for these things, just understand it's all a lie. Not some of it, all of it. The findings are based on interviews with more than 60 people, including his top aides at the time, his relatives, and former members of the UFW, which he co-founded with Ms. Huerta and Gilbert Padilla. The Times reviewed hundreds of pages of union records, confidential emails, and photographs, as well as hours of audio recordings from UFW board meetings. The accounts of abuse from Ms. Mejia and Ms. Rojas were independently verified through interviews with those they confided in decades ago and in more recent years. Elements of their stories were also corroborated in documents, emails, itineraries, and other writings from union organizers, supporters of Mr. Chavez, and historians. The Times spoke at length with Ms. Huerta, the renowned Latina activist who helped run the Farm Workers Union with Mr. Chavez and coined the social justice rallying cry, Si se puede, loosely translated as yes we can. And yeah, that's Barack Obama years later. Yeah. She said she has held on to a dark secret for nearly 60 years. One night during the winter of 1966 in Delano, California, she said, Mr. Chavez drove her out to a secluded grape field, parked and graped her inside the vehicle. Ms. Huerta, who was 36 at the time, said she chose not to report the assault to the police because of their hostility toward the movement, and she feared that no one within the union would believe her. She also described an earlier encounter in August of 1960 when she said she felt pressure to have sex with him in a hotel room during a work trip to San Juan Capistrano in Southern California. Ms. Huerta later began a long-term domestic partnership with Mr. Chavez's brother Richard, with whom she had 4 children. He died in 2011. Ms. Huerta turns 96 on April 10th. Her memories of the details of the assault that night in Delano are at times hazy, but she speaks of the attack in a startlingly matter-of-fact manner. She described being stunned by Mr. Chavez's aggression and then numb to it. She framed her silence at the time not as an absence of pain, but as a kind of strategic necessity, particularly as a woman fighting for respect in the male-dominated world of 1960s union organizing. Now, her accusation shatters what was a widely celebrated and seemingly egalitarian bond between 2 of the most influential Hispanic activists in U.S. history. Unfortunately, quote, unfortunately, he used some of his great leadership to abuse women and children. It's really awful, Ms. Huerta said. So this is the 2 of them back in the day. And this is Ms. Huerta over here, and there's Mr. Chavez over here. More than 30 years after his death, Mr. Chavez has become only more revered in the Latino community as President Trump's efforts to limit immigration and scale back rights threaten to destroy many of the gains secured by decades of his work. Through a series of grueling fasts, great boycotts, and marches that captured the world's imagination, Mr. Chavez drew a spotlight to the plight of the American farm worker. He not only improved wages, living conditions, and health care for generations of farm workers and their families, but also strengthened the political power of Latinos, giving their voice and concerns an urgency and moral authority on the national stage. I need you all to remember that this was a brazen attempt by the United States government and the United States media to elevate somebody else to challenge the primacy of Dr. King and the civil rights movement. So just remember, along with the women's movement and everything else here, when we talk about the illegal aliens, there were a number of other prongs that were being erected by the United States government, the media, and the American social order to attempt to eclipse and confuse and cloudy and muddy the waters of the efforts of our civil rights movement. And with Cesar Chavez, that was just one of those. That was just one of them. He was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, in 1994 when Joseph R. Biden Jr. entered the White House in 2021. He put a bronze bust of Mr. Chavez on display in the Oval Office. I guess that'll be leaving. The allegations of rape and sexual abuse are likely to have far-reaching consequences. On Tuesday, the United Farm Workers issued a statement saying that the organization would not take part in any activities celebrating Mr. Chavez's birthday on March 31st. The union said the troubling allegations that were surfacing were incompatible with the organization's values, adding that it did not have first-hand knowledge of any misconduct. Quote, "We need some time to get this right, including to ensure robust, trauma-informed services are available to those who may need it," the union said in its statement. Now, please remember, this is just off of the Times article here. What have we confirmed? The Times says, trust us, trust me, bro, we've been thorough. That's what the Times is saying. The Times is saying, trust me, bro. Okay. Now, you all know where I'm going to come down on that, but we'll be talking about that more here in just a moment. Mr. Chavez's family said on Tuesday night that they were, quote, "not in a position to judge the claims." Quote, "As a family steeped in the values of equity and justice, we honor the voices of those who feel unheard and who report sexual misconduct," they said in a statement. "These allegations are deeply painful to our family." A handful of Mr. Chavez's relatives and former UFW leaders have been aware for years about various allegations of sexual misconduct, but there is no evidence that they made efforts to fully investigate the accusations, acknowledge the victims, or apologize to them. Instead, many of the women say they were discouraged from speaking out in order to preserve Mr. Chavez's public image. Internal emails dating back over a decade show union members discussing Ms. Murguia's claims of abuse and the impact it had on her life. One of Ms. Murguia's relatives confronted Mr. Chavez while he was still alive in the 1980s. According to the relative, Mr. Chavez offered no defense and responded only by clearing his throat. More than 10 years ago, members of a private Facebook group for longtime Chavez organizers and supporters were stunned to read a post from Ms. Rojas that she wrote in a fit of anger as they prepared to celebrate the holiday in his name. Her post read in part, quote, "Wake up, people. This man you march for every year molested me." And that's rather straightforward. Ms. Rojas deleted the message days after posting it and was accused by some who saw it or heard about it of jeopardizing all that had been accomplished by not only Mr. Chavez, but her parents and those they marched alongside. Nothing has emerged publicly to back up the claims by Ms. Huerta. Well, you had to read a while before you got here, but nothing has emerged publicly to back up the claims by Ms. Huerta. Her description of assault could not be independently verified because she said she had told no one, not even her children or closest friends, until a few weeks ago. But the paper trail of some of Mr. Chavez's misconduct involving young girls can be found in the very archives built to preserve his legacy. In one handwritten letter on girlish stationery imprinted with roses, Miss Rojas wrote to Mr. Chavez in January 1974 at the age of 13, shifting between childlike school updates and swooning devotion. She said she wrote the letter more than a year after he first kissed and fondled her in his office in 1972 when she was a 12-year-old seventh grader. Quote, "I'm really glad I got to see you and spend time with you. Well, not like that, but just to know I was near you was enough," she wrote, adding, "I think of you all the time. Do you think of me?" The letter is among thousands of documents and other materials in the Walter P. Ruther Library Archives at Wayne State University in Detroit. And by the way, she says more than that here, but definitely. Bye. See you soon. I don't know what to tell you, but you know I still love you. I won't go into withering detail here, but what do you want for your birthday? Isn't your birthday March 31st? Mine is February 20th, the same day as your son, Fernando. I think of you all the time. Do you think of me? I think that's enough. Looking back on it now, Ms. Rojas said she believed then that Mr. Chavez wanted her to be a real part of his life. I actually do not doubt that. We'll come back and deal with that a little bit later. He would tell her that they would move together someday to Mexico. Yeah, there's the other thing right there. You see, we're not recruiting people to go somewhere else. We are gathering people here to be on our soil here. We're not recruiting people to go to Israel. We're not recruiting people to go to Mexico. All these other folk right here, and they are working in the interest of everybody except where they're standing at. And these are the folks that they've been empowering and shielding and sheltering the whole time here. By the way, he told her to stay away from other boys because he'd get jealous. He told her that the Flamingo song, "I Only Have Eyes for You," was their song. And that every time she heard it, she should just, quote, "just remember that I love you." Quote, "I had love for him," Ms. Rojas said. "He did his grooming very well. He should get an Academy Award for all he did." And, yeah. An initial reckoning. Elements of Mr. Chavez's extramarital affairs with adult women were chronicled in at least 2 biographies. Matt Garcia's From the Jaws of Victory, The Triumph and Tragedy of Cesar Chavez and the Farm Worker Movement, published in 2012, and Miriam Powell's The Crusades of Cesar Chavez, a biography published in 2014. But neither raised issues of abuse of girls. While Mr. Chavez had 8 children with his wife, Helen Chavez, the Times investigation showed he also fathered at least 4 children with 3 other women. 2 of these children and other family members were interviewed and confirmed their relationship. Additionally, 23andMe match results were reviewed for the 4 children, and they confirmed Mr. Chavez's biological ties in each case. So this is Cesar Chavez with Helen Chavez. 2 of the children were the result of his 2 sexual encounters with Miss Huerta, she told the Times, including the assault she described in 1966. Two of the children were the result of his two sexual encounters with Miss Huerta, she told the Times, including the assault that she described in 1966. Ms. Huerta said she concealed the pregnancies by wearing baggy clothes and ponchos, had the baby girls, and then arranged for them to be raised by others. How the hell did she hide that from her parents? Where were her parents? Where were her parents? This girl is all over the place with this man, so you telling me that she can have a couple of kids and the parents... What the hell were the parents doing? While the Democrats and these other folk want to make it legal for you to just drop your kids over the border. Where were her parents, man? And why isn't the New York Times asking about that, by the way? Where are her parents in 1966? 1976. Where were her parents? Probably around with the secretary and some of the other folk, but anyway. The accusations involving Ms. Murguia and Ms. Rojas date back to a period when they themselves were children, with behavior they now describe as grooming beginning when they were as young as 8 or 9. And what this suggests to me is this was happening in the family. I'm just taking a break right now. This tells me that this was happening in the family. This was already going on. Nobody was really caring about them. Nobody was really protecting them like that. And that this was already happening in the family. And then Cesar Chavez comes along later. Ms. Rojas said that she started seeing a therapist at the age of 16, 4 years after the abuse began, and continues to see one today. Quote, I picked up a drinking habit, she said, a panic attack habit, a bad relationship habit. Ms. Murguia said she suffers from panic attacks and depression and has trouble being in public spaces or being part of crowds. Quote, I feel like he's been a shadow over my life, Ms. Rojas said. I want him to stop following me around. It's time. He's been dead for decades, so I assure you he's not showing up anytime soon. With some exceptions, most of the episodes the women described occurred over the decades in the same tight-knit place, La Paz, the Union's compound in the Tehachapi Mountains, more than 100 miles north of Los Angeles, where he kept his home and his office. The Murguias had been the first family to move into La Paz in 1970 when Anna was 10. Her father was a union official and one of Mr. Chavez's closest aides. Mr. Chavez had been the best man at his wedding 3 years earlier when he married Ms. Murguia's stepmother, a union volunteer. After Mr. Chavez and his family moved to the compound in 1971, he would sometimes ask Ms. Murguia, who was 12 by then, to help him dictate letters or work the community's phone switchboard. She was proud of being able to mimic his signature so masterfully that she would sign it on documents. Quote, Dear Eddie, I'm writing this letter for Cesar, read one letter she wrote to a union supporter in 1972. Cesar liked your picture very much. Sincerely, Anna Murguia. Initially, she said, she enjoyed spending time with him in his office. To her, he was the only adult who truly listened. Not your parents, ma'am? A confidant who sympathized with her as she coped with schoolyard bullies and her father's temper. What did I just tell y'all? By the way, what did I just tell you? Yeah, where did this start? Okay. He told her he was lonely, burdened by his bodyguards and unable to use the bathroom alone. They spent hours talking. Hours talking to a 12-year-old? To a 13-year-old? Hours? Ms. Murguia said she was 13 when Mr. Chavez began inviting her into his office. He had an obsession with alternative healing therapies and would sometimes put her on his desk and demonstrate the pressure points that could relieve stress and pain, she said. That eventually led to more things. You can see here and whatnot, more things led to more things. A lot more things. Ms. Murguia said she wasn't attracted to Mr. Chavez at 12 or 13. Are you... What the hell, New York Times? And was initially surprised by his touches, but said she felt chosen. Quote, part of it was, why would someone like that want like someone like me? She said Mr. Chavez told her not to tell anyone because other girls and women would be jealous of their special bond. He took her on tour with him. He took her on tour with him, having her travel in his car and stand with him at events and marches. She appears next to him in several photographs, among them one of the most iconic images of the UFW's famous 1,000-mile march in the summer of 1975, and an earlier shot alongside the folk singer Joan Baez. But it was also during that time, 2 years after he first touched Miss Murguia in his office, that things changed. By now, age 15, she had accompanied Mr. Chavez on a trip to Los Angeles. At a fundraiser's home in Bel Air, she walked into the kitchen and found him kissing a woman. She left quickly. Quote, I was disgusted, she said. On the way back to La Paz, she rode with the guards and the dogs, refusing to share a car with him. Where the hell were her parents? She's out here just winging this and handling this on her. Where the hell were her? Oh, she just told you she was trying to put distance between her and her parents, and they let her. Oh, she was actively, consciously putting distance between herself and her parents, and they let her. Okay, that answers that. Their time in the office grew less intimate and eventually ended. She started to ache with a quiet distress. Quote, I felt very alone, she said. I had zero support. She finally left La Paz at 19, but soon fell into a spiral of heroin addiction. Desperate, she thought that Mr. Chavez could help her and returned to La Paz. But this time, when she went to his office, she found a room full of men. And Mr. Chavez, she said, turned on her. Quote, he told me I was bringing drugs into the community and needed to get out. She went home in tears and remembers a family member asking what happened. Quote, he doesn't need me anymore, she recalls saying. I'm grown up. He told me to get out. Make of this version of the account what you all will. Take this at whatever level of credibility you feel like taking it at. The next day, she checked into a rehab program that Mr. Chavez had arranged for her. She never spoke to him again. Several people corroborated her story. One family member said she learned of the abuse in the early 1980s after Miss Murguia told her about it. Another person said Miss Murguia disclosed the abuse to him in 1989. One of the men present in the room when Miss Murguia was kicked out of the La Paz refused to comment. Another said he didn't remember that time in his life. For a long time, she felt she would be blamed for what had happened. That was how it worked back then, she said. Girls were abused by family members, by close friends of the family, and it was always kept quiet. Well, that's the way it continues now, as a matter of fact, especially out there in them farm fields. And if anyone found out, she said, the question was never about the man. It was always, well, what did you do? What did you see what you did? There was one person at La Paz she knew she could share her story with, and that was Miss Rojas. Ms. Rojas was living at La Paz in 1972 and remembers Mr. Chavez's special mystique. She was 12 at the time. He would walk by and it was as if a movie star had passed. One day that year, he asked her to come into his office and lock the door. He asked her about school. She remembered going up to his bookshelves to admire the many books. Mr. Chavez touched her then for the first time. She described being frozen. He could see how nervous she was. And then he went further. It's a shock, she said. It was uncomfortable. It went from starstruck to I don't understand this. What is happening? It was the first of many times he touched her sexually. After that first sexual encounter, he used to call her house and talk union business with her father. And then, before they hung up, he would ask him to put his daughter on the phone. And this story is about Cesar Chavez. Folks, did I call it or did I call it? So the story is about Cesar Chavez, and so far I'm counting over half a dozen other folks who are at least aiding and abetting. But the story is Cesar Chavez. They're not talking about all these other folk here. They're not investigating them. All right. I didn't know what the word grooming was, Ms. Rojas said. It's like you're mesmerized. In the summer of 1975, Mr. Chavez and his aides were preparing for the 1,000-mile march, a nearly 60-day event that was to start near California's border with Mexico. The goal was to unionize farm workers and draw public attention to their recent victory in Sacramento, a new state law that protected farm workers' rights to unionize and established a state agricultural labor relations board. Mr. Chavez had invited Ms. Rojas, who was 15 at the time, to join them. Her parents were skeptical, clearly not skeptical enough. Based on what I just read up here, put your daughter on the phone before I get off with you here, sir. Clearly they weren't skeptical enough. Despite what the New York Times says, clearly they weren't. Her parents were skeptical, Ms. Rojas was called, but he told them that he would make sure their daughter would be safe. He kept calling and calling and calling for me to go to the march, Ms. Rojas said. My dad just wanted to be in his favor because my parents loved him. We all loved him. So did you all go together, or did they send their daughter that they loved off by themselves? In August 1975, the march reached Stockton, the San Joaquin Valley city about an hour south of Sacramento. One night, Ms. Rojas recalled Mr. Chavez told her he was sending her home for a week. She was sad and confused and thought she had done something wrong. She was waiting at the bus station when Mr. Chavez drove up with one of his bodyguards. He invited her into the car, and they drove to a motel on Highway 99. In the motel room, he shared with her, she said, they did a lot more. She was, really, New York Times? Really? Seriously? Okay, I'm not even going to read this. But the New York Times, okay. Yeah, all right. And you all wonder why we can't get any news about Jeffrey Epstein. You wonder why if they gave this kind of investigation to Jeffrey Epstein, this kind of withering, detailed investigation to Jeffrey Epstein, will we even be talking about this right now? Think about that for a few moments. So they're going into way more withering detail here than they ever went into with Jeffrey Epstein. If the New York Times did a story like this about Jeffrey Epstein, Where would America be right now if the New York Times gave Jeffrey Epstein the Cesar Chavez treatment? Because I've covered these stories with you all. They never did this with Jeffrey Epstein. Never. So when we talk about distracting and deflecting and trying to change the subject, this is what the hell I'm talking about right here. So they got withering, sordid, salacious, nasty details about Cesar Chavez, but never did this with Jeffrey Epstein. Ain't talked to nobody, don't want to talk to anybody. He said because of the death threats he received, he and his security team wanted to make sure that they were safe. Several people in documents corroborated the accusations made by Ms. Rojas, including a relative who said Ms. Rojas first told her in the late 1990s that Mr. Chavez had abused her. As the march ended, Ms. Rojas said Mr. Chavez grew colder toward her. He told her that he needed to go back to his wife. Cesar Chavez is just a man. Esmeralda Lopez's encounters with Mr. Chavez came years later, long after Ms. Rojas and Ms. Murguia had moved away from La Paz. She had grown up in the Union, the daughter of a longtime Union staff member, Cynthia Bell. In April 1988, Mr. Chavez selected Ms. Lopez to travel with him on an out-of-state speaking tour. After an event in Michigan, he invited Ms. Lopez into his camper attached to a pickup truck. Classy. She said it was just the two of them in the small camper and they sat next to the bed. At one point, she said, Mr. Chavez pointed to a street sign outside bearing his name and suggested that he could use his influence to get something named for her if she slept with him. She was 19 and he was 61. Shaken, Ms. Lopez rebuffed him and he did not pursue it further. She later called her mother to say she was returning home early from the trip. Now, folks, remember, by this time, this is 1988. So these other girls' families have no excuses. When Miss Bell asked what happened, Ms. Lopez replied, Cesar Chavez is just a man. Ms. Bell told her to come home. She immediately understood what her daughter meant. In a recent interview, Ms. Bell, now 75, corroborated her daughter's account of that day. By then, Ms. Bell said, she had worked closely for decades with the union leader. So, Mom, how could you not know? You knew he was like this? She said Mr. Chavez had made sexual advances toward her during a dance at a fundraiser in Bakersfield in the early 1970s when she was in her early 20s. Quote, I see you sometimes like one of my daughters, but then I get these other feelings, she said he told her as the two danced. Okay, so everybody knew and then said, let me sling my daughters off with him. So they're all saying that, yeah, they knew he was doing stuff like that, but then they sent their daughters off with him hundreds of miles away from home alone over and over and over again. What kind of parenting is this? Don't worry, we're going to get into that. About 10 months after the incident in the camper, Ms. Lopez said Mr. Chavez fired her from her job at a union health clinic. So this is Lopez, the daughter, and her mother today. Over the years since then, Ms. Lopez and Ms. Bell said they have thought a lot about Ms. Lopez's words that day back in 1988, that this icon they had dedicated so much of their lives to was just a man. Quote, it makes you rethink in history all those heroes, Ms. Lopez said. The movement. The movement. That's the hero. A Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation. All right, here we go with this part of it. They kick it in the next gear. In the 1970s, Mr. Chavez went almost nowhere alone. After federal authorities uncovered a plot to assassinate him in 1971, he began traveling with a security team, moving in two-car convoys of 3 to 6 guards, coordinating by walkie-talkie. The night Mr. Chavez took Ms. Rojas at the motel on the outskirts of Stockton, she said she remembers that one of his bodyguards, Manuel Chavez, drove the two of them there. A few of these bodyguards have since died, including Manuel Chavez, who was a cousin of Mr. Chavez. All right, keep it all in the family. I mean, one girl went off and married his brother, and all right. Several others declined to comment, including his head of security, Richard Ibarra, who married Mr. Chavez's daughter, Anna Chavez, in late 1971. Others said they were certain that Mr. Chavez had not engaged in any sexual abuse and rejected the women's claims as incompatible with the man they knew. Frank Curiel, a former Marine, drove Mr. Chavez across California, often late into the night, and served as his bodyguard for nearly 2 decades, beginning in early 1970s. He lived at La Paz for nearly 30 years. Quote, "I'll tell you this. Pedophile? Never," Mr. Curiel said. "As far as I'm concerned, Cesar was my chief." Some of the other women who lived at La Paz also said they experienced nothing like what Miss Murguia, Miss Rojas, and Miss Lopez described, though Mr. Chavez was a frequent presence in the lives of the daughters of his loyal organizers and volunteers. They recalled his attending their family functions, taking them on tour with them, asking them to work in his office after school, and exchanging letters, gifts, and photographs, but several of these women said he did not pursue any sexual relationship with them. One of them, Jessica Coriel, said Mr. Chavez was her mentor and taught her to channel her anger into books rather than violence. Quote, "If it weren't for Cesar's words and encouragement and kind of and loving advice, I wouldn't be where I am today," Ms. Coriel said. Yet many of those who look back on those years at La Paz also say that Mr. Chavez was a man who could be nurturing one moment only to use that same emotional intimacy to manipulate and abuse the next. Ms. Huerta said he abused her not only physically but emotionally. Union records document an argument at La Paz between the two of them over missing financial receipts during a board meeting in 1979. Ms. Huerta demanded respect and pushed back against his suggestions that she had stolen money. Mr. Chavez responded by shouting at her with curses and insults, repeatedly calling her a stupid bee, according to the audio recordings of board meetings the Times listened to. Ms. Huerta struggles to reconcile the Cesar Chavez she knew, who inspired so many and achieved so much, and the man who assaulted her and publicly humiliated her. She said she was unaware of any sexual abuse of teenage girls. Moments after some of that abuse was described to her, Ms. Huerta broke down, sobbing and wailing. Quote, "It's kind of like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation, I think." Ms. Murguia, Ms. Rojas, and Ms. Huerta said they struggled for years about whether to tell their stories publicly. Some of those closest to them begged them not to, arguing that it could not be a worse time to attack a Latino hero when immigrants were facing widespread detention and deportation and the political rights of Hispanics seemed to many to be under assault. In the end, they said that the story of Chavez's movement was their story too. Of the women who marched beside the men, worked in the fields, took care of the children. The movement, they said, was more than one man. In 2013, Ms. Murguia returned to La Paz. The surrounding mountains were as beautiful as she remembered. She found her old white wooden house, its porch railing gone. The old hospital where so many had slept was boarded up. Then she walked into the building where he had worked. The walls were lined with photos and testimonials about Mr. Chavez, celebrating his legacy. His office was down a long corridor. One of the office walls had been replaced by a large window so visitors could peer in. That day, Ms. Murguia looked at his desk, his chair, his tall bookshelves, and there in the right corner she saw something that stopped her, bringing back a rush of memories. It was a yoga mat. As promised, I want to go back here. I wanted to go back here. There are reasons for these things, I believe. There are reasons for these things coming out now. The man's been dead for decades, and now it's only coming out now. War in Iran. Cesar Chavez. Boy, if you didn't know any better, you'd swear it was a psyop specifically intended to distract and turn attention. People, they're not lying when they remind you all that the CIA had a direct line and literally had a desk at the New York Times. They're not lying about that, folks. That's not a lie. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a figure of speech. They're not lying when they tell y'all about that the CIA literally had a phone number and agents, that the CIA literally had people knowingly, the New York Times, they had people on the inside of the New York Times. That's not hyperbole. That's not an exaggeration. It's not made up. No, they really did. And a lot of folks say, they still do. And a lot of people say that they still do. Oh, yeah. And the LA Times. Oh, not just the New York Times, by the way, and the LA Times. If the government wanted to bring Cesar Chavez down, they would have given him the Elijah Muhammad treatment. If the New York Times had the goods at that time, they would have done it if they wanted to bring him down. Obviously, they did not. So the first thing I want to do is remind you all of what it was. Cesar Chavez was a tool that they were using to say, well, it's bigger than black folk in the civil rights movement. We shouldn't just focus on how we're killing the niggas. Well, we got to worry about the illegals. I'm talking about farm workers. You mean the illegal aliens? You mean them? Yeah, back in the 60s and 70s, folk, the government went to work at the state and federal level to change the focus, anything and everything to get the focus off of us and onto something else, anything else. Splinter and fracture this thing. Don't let all that energy coalesce behind black people any longer. Break this damn thing up. Now, do you think they didn't know all this? But you see, the plan was working, so everything's fine. So first and foremost, folks, if they had the goods, they would have used that. They wouldn't have been bull jiving around. If they had the goods, they would have used that if they wanted to tear him down. I submit to you that they did not. Whether he knew or not, he was a useful tool by the establishment to undermine and change the attention and skew the focus off of what we were doing. I'm going to tell you all right now in advance, there will be some unsavory material here. There will be some unsavoriness about this. But I would be remiss in my duties if I did not cover this as well. And I'm not beating up on people. I'm not impugning people, but I do want to remind folks about these things here. You see, there has been a tendency among folk here when they talk about the black and brown coalition and attempting to indoctrinate other people into what we do or who we are as a people without any reckoning with what exactly it is that you're asking for. This is not character assassination or cultural assassination. I'm not saying anything that those of you who live in California or Texas or Florida do not already know. This is what you see on your screen right here. This is not new. This is not novel. This is not different. This is not unique. Those of you who've been to high school in Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, those of you who've been to high school in Dallas, Austin, the one or two of you in El Paso, San Antonio, and otherwise, those of you who've been in them places, those of you who've been to school in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, those of you who've been to them places, New York City. What? But when we're talking about directly Mexicans, that's really a Southern thing, to be totally honest, but y'all get the point. Those of you who went to the high schools, y'all saw the dudes who were rolling up for them young Latina girls at your high school. You saw who was rolling up in them cars. That's not new. This goes back to when I was in school. And by what you see here with Cesar Chavez, it goes back way before that. So this isn't new, and it isn't novel, and it's not unique, and it's not a one-off. Y'all, everybody in here has seen the cars rolling up all the damn time. How many of you have been to a birthday party on that side of town? Give me the hand up emoji in the chat room if you ever been to a birthday party on that side of town, man. With the grade school kids, particularly upper middle school and high school. Give me the hand up emoji if you ever been to one of them birthday parties. Or forget a birthday party if you just been to a party where the teenage girls are. Okay, tell me why we got all these grown men here and these teenage girls over here. Tell me why the hell this is happening. Yeah, they're talking about quinceanera. All right. Tell me why we got all these teenage girls in this room and I'm seeing a bunch of grown men coming through here. I'm talking about all tatted up. All tatted up in the whole damn 9 yards. Tell me why that is. Tell me why this girl is 13, 14, 15 years old walking around with a halter top on here and the girl behind her is the same. Well, it's warm outside. Okay, I understand that, but yeah, I don't even like the look of this, dude. I don't even like the look of this. What's going on here? I mean, just the optics of this right here is looking funny style as hell to me. Not just because of the girl up front. I'm talking about the one behind her, too. Did you notice that their hair was the same, by the way? Speaking of hair, I couldn't help but notice the differing hairstyles in this picture. Make of that what you will. For example, the two men, Cesar Chavez and the other fellow over there, couldn't help but notice the differences in hairstyles. That's a whole nother rabbit hole we're not going to go down right now, but yep. All right. This is something that's been going on for a minute. So you see, for some of y'all who champion these things and whatnot, I'm just saying this is a lot of what's coming over because we're talking about here in the States. Do you know about down there in Mexico? I mean, If you think it's bad up here, by the way, they didn't come up here and learn it up here. That was brought with them when they came up. Mexico, Central America, South America, Afro-Latinas. What? Oh, I'm not supposed to say that? I wasn't supposed to remind you all of that. Because some of these folks want to try to flex being exotic. Well, that works on folk who don't know the whole damn deal and the whole damn story. That works on them. A lot of these Afro-Latinas and whatnot, it's like, okay, baby, no offense, because I know I got a bunch of y'all up in here. I'm just saying, but y'all know full well I'm just telling the gospel. You know I'm telling the truth. You know I'm not lying. You know I am not lying. You know I'm not lying, and you know I'm not exaggerating. This is not cultural assault or cultural assassination. What I'm saying is that for a moment of truth right here for a second. Because it wasn't all right. And it's not all right today. The sexualization of young Latina females at an early age, that's not novel and that's not new. Making their daughters sexually available to grown men in particular, that's not novel and that's not new, including among that so-called Afro-Latinas. It is not new. It's considered to just be a rite of passage. What the rest of y'all getting so ventilated over? What's the deal? When you have folk who sit up here and they are promoting things without any care or regard for the magnitude of what it is exactly that you're promoting, that you're advocating for and defending. We got enough problems as it is, and this has been going on here for a while. And please understand, and even these folk didn't say nothing until decades after he was dead. One of them, Ms. Huerta, 95, 96 years old, and didn't say anything. Now, I'm not going to cast aspersions. I am going to say, by the way, I couldn't help but notice that all these females kept quiet as kept for not years, but decades. And I'm talking about the adult ones. Everybody has been quiet the whole time. So the older females who are now talking about him, they weren't talking then. They didn't say anything for the last 5 decades, people. 5 decades. They didn't say anything. He gets a new crop of females, allegedly, and you didn't say anything then either. I don't know. I mean, if I see somebody throw a lawsuit up, I'm going to be like, okay. I'm just wondering if somebody's going to try to toss up a lawsuit now. I don't know who exactly they would sue or how, but okay. And what I'm saying is that I don't think this is accidental at all. I think this is completely and totally strategic. I am not certain, and I am not claiming that the accusations are true or valid one way or the other. I am saying certainly This would seem to suggest that they're highly credible. I simply cannot go off of just the New York Times. I cannot and will not, and no sensible person would. But certainly it would appear at first blush that there is probable cause to investigate further if one was inclined to do that. There's probable cause to investigate further if one was inclined to do so. But you see, there's maybe more than meets the eye going on here. There might be more than meets the eye going on. Maybe more than that happening here. Because you see, there could be a number of different things that we're seeing occur. And so it could be that there's more than meets the eye going on here. Jason, what exactly are you talking about? Well, folks, in case you all didn't get the news here earlier today, former FBI Director Robert Mueller has died. And Donald Trump, in his typical classy manner, Donald Trump had a few choice words for the former FBI director that he had animosity with. He said, Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. Damn! He can no longer hurt innocent people. President Donald J. Trump. This is what America has come to. James Martin said, God help us. This is disgraceful language coming from a Christian. That's an insult to even say that. Or anyone with a soul. It was just as wrong to celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk as it is to celebrate that of Robert Mueller. May they rest in peace, and may we never forget that Jesus' message is about mercy. Carrie Prejean Bowler said, this is how a person talks when they have a heretical woman pastor spiritually advising him. What a disgrace. What a disgrace. And of course, the peanut gallery defending the least, according to Newt Gingrich, according to former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, Barack Obama was the most divisive president in American history. The level of psychotic lying that these people go to here would make Joseph Goebbels cringe. None other than Brit Hume of Fox News, when Fox News saw this. This is the kind of stuff Trump does that makes people not just oppose him, but hate him. There was no need to say anything. Some of the first true words to come from Brit Hume in many a decade. And of course, immediately, the brown shirts, the scum of the earth, come right to bear. These are the same people that said that you should lose your job if you told the truth about Charlie Kirk's life after he was killed. And yeah, all of a sudden now, here they are. They would have you believe that these are the righteous people in the room, and they are the worst and the lowest degenerates among us. And they would have you believe that they are the righteous people in the room. And even more is going on here on your screens right here. It is Matt Tucciaroni. I used to work for Turning Point USA. Turning Point USA faith exists to equip Christians to live out biblical truth, fight cultural degeneracy, and be salt and light. But at AmFest 2024's after party hosted by James O'Keefe, the Make America Rave Again blowout, this is what went down up here on your screens. There's no audio to it there, but this is what went down. 2024, Turning Point USA, AmFest 2024. AmFest 2024. So, yeah, she's showing respect to the stars and stripes, right? These are your good patriotic Christians. These are the same folk, by the way, who will complain and squeal about rap music and twerking and the Houston rodeo or whatever. By the way, these are the same people. The same people who will yell and squeal about that. Oh, look at that nasty Negro culture. The same folk now. You're not showing respect to the flag. And this is... all right. At AmFest 2024's after party hosted by James O'Keefe, formerly of Project Veritas, this is what went down. A half-naked woman in a giant wine glass full of water, grinding sexually, splashing the crowd while booze flows everywhere. And she wraps our American flag around her like a cape. Straight up flag code disrespect and total cultural compromise. This is the party of the decade our youth are funneled into. Where's the biblical modesty, the respect for sacred symbols, the consistency on fighting degeneracy? Former insider here, this doesn't align with what Turning Point USA preaches. Video is real, unedited, from the event I was at. Judge for yourself. So, needless to say, yeah. All right. Needless to say, yeah, that happened. These are the good guys, remember? These are the heroes and the good guys. I can imagine with all these things coming to light, with hurricane, gale force winds, yeah, it might suit some folk to want to change the subject. By any and all means necessary, can we change this subject? Can we talk about something, anything other than this? Anything other than this? We got Epstein files that haven't been released. The New York Times has not done a forensic analysis of Jeffrey Epstein's finances. They're not asking any of these type of questions. And I'm just wondering, by the way, y'all know an agenda when you see one. You all recognize it when you see one. It's not lost on you. You get it. You know it. You know when that kind of thing is occurring there. So I am not disputing any of the allegations. I don't know if they're accurate or if they're not accurate. But what I do know is that there are some folks who get in their wake-up call right now, too. If you thought that the mainstream media was on your side because you're quote-unquote not black, yeah, they got something for y'all, too. I mean, they put it on super blast. Need I remind you all, there aren't a lot of Latino icons for them to draw on. Cesar Chavez is the only one that they could draw on for political civil activism. He was the only one. And now he's gone. Cesar Chavez was the only face of Latino political activism that had reached any sort of national prominence, even though it was highly pushed. And now that's gone. That's gone. Erased. And not just erased, they got plenty of the folks there asking for it to be done. They sent members of your own group to come and demand that they tear these things down, cover them up, erase his name. Okay, well, you will not be able to erase Cesar Chavez without erasing the movement. He is the figurehead of the movement, and you're not going to be able to erase him without erasing it. which I submit to all of you is the plan. The plan is to erase Cesar Chavez. The plan is to erase it and to get the folks who are going along with it to go ahead and say, yeah, we need to go ahead and do that. The same folk who brought you this story, the same people who are demanding that you be outraged, are still, the New York Times is still running interference for Jeffrey Epstein and refusing to do a comprehensive analysis of Jeffrey Epstein. They are still refusing to do it. But they came for Cesar Chavez, didn't they? Elon Musk gets to keep Twitter. Donald Trump gets to sit in the White House. Bill Clinton gets to sit up and shuck and jive. Folk in the Trump administration still get the ball out. But Cesar Chavez, the man's not even alive. No prosecutor required. They are erasing him, and there have been zero legal proceedings of any kind. No legal proceedings, period. And take a look at how much they were able to get done. Those of us who came through the killing fields of America, the original farm workers of America, those of us who came up through the killing fields of this country, see, there was something that we learned, something that other folks out here have been hard-headed about. These people have no intention of sharing anything with you. You are a tool to be used. You are a tool to be used. And when your usefulness has expired, you will not sit in the toolbox. You will be smashed and destroyed. That is what your fate will be. They will use you to achieve their ends, and as soon as your usefulness has expired, they already know how they're going to eliminate you and eliminate your influence and credibility. And they're showing you all they can do this to Cesar Chavez decades after he died. Decades, not a year. Decades later, we can do it to you. They've been sitting on this the whole damn time. And the fact that the system jumped into action like this, that tells you this has nothing to do with what those women said. They were waiting on something like this. They were waiting on this, and as soon as it happened, all the other systems went into automatic response. It was just an automatic relay reflex right after that. Everything's already in place. When this word come down, okay, everything else pop into it. Here we go. Everything else pops into it. And some of these other folks out here are getting an abject lesson in that. And to my brothers and sisters from around the world here, there's a whole lot of folks out here who come out of these things confused. You come out of these things confused because there are a ton of lessons in here for us to learn from this. There are a bunch of lessons for us to learn and for us to observe, because they're still there and they're still doing what they do. If they had had the goods on Malcolm X, they would have released that decades ago. If they had the goods on Dr. King, they would have released that decades ago. They weren't being merciful. They weren't being slow. They didn't have anything. Cesar Chavez, they knew what they had. They're like, we ain't got to do nothing to him. He's serving a purpose. As long as he serves it, it's great. Oh, what do you know? We need to revise the social order. Okay, out with Chavez. It won't take us 10 years. It's out now. So please understand, they're going to be feeling the blow of this for a while, because there isn't anyone to replace him with. You see, we have a long string of icons, not across years or decades, but across centuries. No matter what side you fall on, we have a long and distinguished string of icons. We ain't got just one. We have a multitude of them, male and female, across the board, across the centuries. So this tactic doesn't work on us. This tactic isn't gonna work on us. You can't do this one with us. And that's why I'm reminding you all of what you're dealing with and what you're up against. So that you can recognize and see here that this is not accidental. And some of our Latino friends out there are now seeing, by the way, did y'all see how they just eased y'all into that trick bag? You're going to take down Cesar Chavez, and here's the problem. Replace him with what? With whom? You don't have any undisputed figures, not in this day and age. So replace him with what and with whom? And I will say one more thing. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to move on. Would anyone be surprised if somebody put them up to this? Whether you consider the allegations to be credible or not, by the way, for this to happen here, now, at this time, would anyone be surprised if you found out that behind the scenes, the chess masters were still moving the pieces on the board, and they had something to do with causing this to all come out? I mean, it wasn't just one of them now. They didn't just find one chick and have to fight with the others. Oh, we got all of them right now? Interesting. A person could be forgiven for suspecting that there's somebody behind this who orchestrated the pieces to move like they are. A person could be forgiven for thinking that. However, you might disagree. I know this is not the thing you all would usually think we'd be discussing here, but I think this is very, very important because I'm like with the Latinos, by the way, here comes the knockout punch. The fabricated historical relevance that was given to try to rival MLK and the civil rights movement, they're showing you they're erasing it. It didn't take them 5 decades. They're going to erase it in 1 weekend. 1 weekend. And these folks are going to cheer them while they do. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and pin the link to the Zoom there at the top of the chat room. And you all are more than welcome to go ahead and give us a call up so you can weigh in on these things and more. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone who has contributed for tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out to Nancy King. Thank you very much for your support here, Nancy. We appreciate that from you, ma'am. Thank you very much to Mr. Richburg. Thank you for your support here as well to Mark B., Sir Shy, Descendant Layer, Miles Matthews, Najee, and everybody else here who has contributed for tonight's program. We appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed here. We are going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. Some folks are already calling in here tonight. I got some other things I want to cover, including Afro Man. Yes, Afro Man. We're going to go ahead and cover that here as well. This is the Black Channel.
The teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we repping the gains. Used to be the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening as we are discussing these subjects here and more. We're going to go ahead and jump over here on Zoom here right quick. So let me see if we can get up Charles here first. All right, Charles. And what is on your mind, brother?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of things on my mind about this. What's interesting about all of this is that I believe one of Chavez's daughters was actually was a part of Kamala Harris's campaign. I looked in the chat, and just amazing how these things like link into these stuff. All these so-called political figures, these good political figures, they're all like connected to this horrible, terrible, things to these innocent victims, regards girls, young men, all that type of stuff. It's kind of funny how they these people, and where was this where were the daughters, where were everyone else yelling and screaming about this? We need to protect young girls, and then all this is silence. Why it takes this long to get this whole thing?
I mean, this is orchestrated. This is what an orchestrated movement, an orchestrated agenda looks like. It looks like this.
Yeah, it's not really surprising because of this, because the people we are head by, these horrible monsters that run the society, that have done countless harm to everything else, and that they project it on us. Black people are like evil, they're this, they're that, they come, and meanwhile, who the one who hurt these girls? It's not black people. Who's the one doing all these horrible, the wars and everything? It ain't black people.
Okay, well, let me take it a little bit further, though, brother. Let me take this a little bit further, because you see, we have to remind people of a few things. We do not now. The foundation does not now, nor has there ever been, a culture of accepting, promoting, or condoning sexual activities with underage people. We have never had a culture, that's just a thing that we do. The descendants of the American freedmen have never had this as a culture. Now, we can look at Asia. We can look at South of North America. We can look at a bunch of places. What you can't do is float that around here. You don't have black neighborhoods where 13-year-old black girls got grown men trying to push up on them, and the parents sent her off to go spend the week with him. And the neighborhood approves of it. And everybody is quiet. See, that mess makes the news. That mess, if anybody does try that, that makes the news over here. That's not just, well, you know, that's the way things get down. You can't be a white man and you just come into the black community of the foundation and go pick you up an underage girl and everybody keep it pushing. You'll get your ass murked out here. You'll get your ass dealt with. There ain't no black fathers from the foundation looking to sit up here and chip off their daughters like that. Mm-hmm. This is not the norm. You know full well you taking life or death chances with yourself if you come over here and try that. You're taking life or death chances. But there are other places where you can do that and it's reliable because they're already doing it. Cesar Chavez didn't go grab them two girls and groom them. They were already prepped before he ever met them. And he knew it. They are in their attempt to try to put this all on him. By the way, y'all already admitted that, wait a minute, what was going on at the house before he ever got there? He didn't put something in there that wasn't already there. It was already there, and he just took advantage of what was already there. I'll let y'all the last word.
Yeah. And again, it just proves that there's a lot more. It is projection. All of it is projection for this, for these people who want to say, oh, everything black people are evil. Nope. It goes right. No, they don't look in the mirror. They can't look in that mirror because once they look in that mirror, they realize they're the ones, it breaks them. It destroys them. So we have to always be the targeting point. That's the end of the day that they need a villain. And honestly, that day of us being the villains are coming to an end. And they're the ones, facilitating that end where they're just taking down these people left and right and center. So, that's what they do. They eat themselves. And that's what's going to happen then. They're going to eat themselves and wonder why they're not in power anymore. Anyway, I'll keep, anyway, thank you very much for letting me on, man. Peace.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, y'all, we've never been the kickiest spot for the pedophiles. We ain't never been the place for that, and we're not going to be the place for that. They know, take that somewhere else, that underground where you can just do that kind of thing and everybody turns a blind eye to it. That's not what happens over here. Let me go ahead and jump back over on Zoom again here right quick. Let me see if we can get Blanco up here on Zoom for me. Let me see if we can get Blanco up here. Okay, Blanco, you must have walked away again. I'll give you 5 more seconds here, Blanco. Where you at? There you go. All right, what's on your mind, sir?
Hey, my bad, Jason. My bad for the connection. What's so interesting though is that after 1968, when they start murdering all the civil rights leaders, it's only after then that they start looking for quote unquote the MLKs of the Latinos, the Filipinos, the Chinese, whatever, fill in the blank person. That it's after, during the 70s, during the 80s, that they start finding he's the Hispanic MLK. Because it's not grassroots in the sense that they waited until after he died to then go look for, quote unquote, the other role models. Which is why it's so easy to find these files on him and whatnot, because he was never, not that he wasn't ever, I guess like some kind of leader. Obviously, I guess he did stuff, but it wasn't a true civil rights in the sense that, equality for my people or nothing. It was just, hey, let's just make sure that, the workers are, I guess, identified, that, you know what I mean? Like it, so you can see how much of a fallacy and false idol most of these people are. So you're nailing it.
The other thing here is, and it's no disrespect to Cesar Chavez, but that wasn't organic. I mean, that was something that was propped up and promoted. I remember as a kid, they had Cesar Chavez in our history books in elementary school in Louisiana. In Louisiana, not California. My family, we knew all the relevant civil rights icons since I was a little kid in elementary school. Cesar Chavez wasn't one of them. So they went on a campaign to promote Cesar Chavez. Just like, for example, the autobiography of Malcolm X, Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan talked about that 25 years after Malcolm X was killed, that they made Malcolm X's autobiography required reading at the Ivy League universities. Well, yeah, right after he was killed, it was required reading after that. All these other scholars, Carter G. Woodson and others, never became required reading. Dr. John Henry Clark, Chancellor Williams, Joseph Ben Yakinan never became required reading, but Malcolm X did. And Louis Farrakhan said specifically because of what he said in the end of the book, condemning Elijah Muhammad, they wanted to make sure that that was part of the curriculum. They wanted to make sure of that because that's in the book. Okay. So that was not accidental. So when we wake up with in these so-called history books, these are not history books. These are government textbooks. That's literally what they are, government textbooks. The publishers put in what the government wants them to, literally. If I need to remind you all, since I got a moment here to go ahead and run this down, for those of you who do not know or do not realize how this works with your so-called history books, when I start saying the names of these publishers, it's the same ones everywhere. You've all seen them on the spine of your books for decades. McGraw-Hill, Macmillan Press, Ingersoll Rand. I want to say they make tools too or something. Harcourt Brace Jovanovich. You all have seen these names for decades. Well, yeah, they publish the books. No matter where you are, from California to Louisiana to Florida, you've seen it for decades because those are the ones who publish those books. Okay, but these are big contracts they get from the government, from the state governments, and which are really subsidized by the federal government. But these are big contracts that they get. And remember, Texas and Tennessee, but it started with Texas when they did their books here, 10, 12 years ago or so, and they wanted to start watering down chattel slavery. Oh, don't use them terms, chattel slavery, and don't call it the slave trade, call it the transatlantic trade. And these so-called historical scholars who write these books, all of a sudden it went from the transatlantic slave trade to the transatlantic trade, and then suddenly inferring that we were immigrants. The slaves are immigrants. Yes, they changed what was in those books specifically because of what Rick Perry or Greg Abbott wants. And that is the curriculum as dictated by them. That's literally what's in your book. So whoever's put in there or included in there, they are closely monitoring who it is and what it is. So if they are in there, please understand that had to be approved by Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott and all the other monsters and white supremacists of the day. It's got to go through them first. And they approve that. So when you see Cesar Chavez in there, just understand that's in there for a reason. By the way, without any real context, how the farm workers, what's that got to do with us? So you got a little old paragraph by Dr. King, and here's Cesar Chavez. And I'm like, okay, I never even understood what the relevance was back then. I'm like, okay, why? I don't get it. You're not supposed to get it. It's just supposed to confuse you. And you gel it together, and then you just think there was just a whole bunch of folk running around back then. No, there weren't. No, there were not. But we're going to elevate Cesar Chavez later in the hopes that this will split and fracture the energy y'all are getting. And then, okay, we've created another icon here. And what they're showing you is that, by the way, if we made you, we can break you. That's the problem with Malcolm X. They didn't make Malcolm. They put out the autobiography and then said, all right, y'all niggas need to forget about that. Well, we didn't. And what happened? We made Malcolm. We introduced him back in the popular consciousness and the zeitgeist. It's going to be impossible for you to destroy him now because you didn't make him. Cesar Chavez is different. You all made that. and now they're back to break it.
I would only say, just to land the plane, that it's so interesting watching how you were saying how like this is no different. They've been doing this, forever. It's the same people, it's the same chicks. And it has nothing to do with men versus women, but it's the same chicks that they know who the creeps are, by the way. It's not like they know whose car they're going in, and they will tell you that they know that that guy is a creep, but he still then provides. So it's a cultural thing. Like I told you before, I'm Cuban, so it's not even technically my culture, whatever. But I totally get what this is going on, where it's like they project so much that black people are predators and FBAs are predators, and in general, and yet so many 30-year-olds, so many like it's a thing.
They treat
People
these,
tell you that-
brother. I saw it the first times that I went to Texas, California, Florida, Arizona. They treat them young Latina girls like women. They don't treat them like girls. They regard them like women. I mean, like straight up women. It's very disturbing when you first get exposed to that. That's very disturbing. And you realize you're the only one disturbed by it. It's the real problem. You looking around and you're the only one got a real big problem with it. Everybody else is like, man, it's like, did y'all see this? It feels like the damn Twilight Zone.
And these are 30-year-olds, though. You know what I mean? These are like 35-year-old men who it's not just, hey, cover yourself, in case that there's someone here. It's more like they're chastising her for turning them. It's like, it's so crazy. So it doesn't, nobody was ever surprised by it. It's just that the United States and, Israel, whatever, but the United States was creating Cesar Chavez. So they're trying to make it seem like it's such a big deal, as if no one already knew. Like this is breaking news. Hey, meanwhile, your entire government's been trafficking people since, at least 15, 16. Most of them were young kids. The point being is that, your government's all fucking pieces of shit. But Cesar Chavez is a piece of shit. So
it's only going to be illegal for you, though. You don't get to go to the White House and tell them, by the way, we're here to arrest all the folks who've been filling on underage girls. You don't get to go do that. So it's illegal for you, but don't deceive yourself into thinking that you're going to go enforce this against them. You don't have a two-tier system of justice. You just have injustice. You just have injustice. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, y'all. I mean, for those of y'all who've seen it, they treat them Latina girls like straight up women. They dress them like straight up women. I mean, straight past the Barbie doll stage, and any of y'all who've been in places where you got a lot of that going on, it's like I'll be damned all over the place, man. I mean, young. This ain't just, your little gal is hot to trot. It's like, okay, this is the get down on the block, man. Grown ass men driving by in big ass long cars and stuff, hollering at your damn 13, 14-year-old daughter. And folk just acting like that's a non-issue. Yes, I mean, they got them dressing straight up like women. Straight out the club. The whole 9 yards. I mean, that's the thing. Let me go ahead and jump over here and get Daryl up on Zoom for me here right quick. Let me get Daryl up here on Zoom right quick for me here. Where you at, Daryl? All right, there you are, Daryl. What's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, Jason. Thank you for having me this evening. Wow, Jason, you hit the nail on the head, man. Again, this situation here, man, it's like the biggest misdirection. I remember back in New York, there's a friend of mine that worked there at the New York Times, and he used to always wonder why the FBI had, I think it was either FBI or CIA, they had a desk office right on the side, not right around the corner from where his cubicle was. And he used to always say they always had some stuff going on there all the time. He said, well, why are they here? And Now, years after he's gone, now he left there. Now he understands why. I told him, I said, man, listen, man, they're planting stuff there, man. Don't you understand that? It's misdirection. Look at what the war. This is misdirection. They got to do something else to get everybody's focus off of that. And this is what it is, Jason. You hit the nail right on the head, man. It's some misdirection. And people watching this, all these years, this guy's been around. And all of a sudden, now after he's dead, you bring this to light?
Okay, let me ask you all some questions here tonight to help put this in its proper context, just in case you think I'm going over the line, or just in case you think I'm focusing on things that I shouldn't hear. Let me ask you all a question based on what you just saw us read tonight from the New York Times.
Yes.
Tell me, I want to bring this to the forefront here right quick, so give me just a moment here so I can go ahead and drop this off at the top so y'all can see this.
Yes, sir.
Folks, where's the New York Times investigation of all these women that Bill Gates and all the rest of them there? I mean, if they could track down the women the girls that Cesar Chavez was talking to, they're not giving any of this work on the Epstein files. They're not talking to all these women with Bill Gates, the women allegedly with Lawrence Summers and the others. They ain't tracking down and talking to nobody.
Yeah, that's right.
No one.
Not a drop. Not a drop.
So I just couldn't help but notice y'all ain't got the same energy over here. What happened to your investigative journalism when you've got literally millions of files to go off of, and hundreds of people at this point, if not thousands, involved? And yet for Cesar Chavez, we spoke to 60 people. 60 people. What about the few hundred over here with Epstein? What about them? Tough to get through there, man. Tough to get through it. We found his emails and his paperwork and minutes from the union and phone calls. Okay, well, Jeffrey Epstein's documentation right here. Damn it. What about the arrest record? Yeah, there's not a lot we can do with that. Not a lot we can do. And yet the same New York Times is telling you what they can't get done with millions of documents at their disposal. So I'm like, okay, if you can investigate the girls with Cesar Chavez, why are we not investigating? Why haven't you already investigated all these other girls for the last 5-6 years of Jeffrey Epstein? You talking about Donald Trump. Damn it, you know who the hell was there. Why is it you ain't doing a wall-to-wall investigation of them?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Get the names, the phone numbers, track down their mamas, their daddies. Who's the bodyguard?
That's right.
Brother, they went comprehensive over there. Who was the bodyguard? Hell, they did that with Princess Diana. Okay, who's the bodyguard? And Trevor Reese, and who was driving the car? You've heard none of that. Have they tracked down the pilots for Epstein? Damn. No. Y'all do know they know who the pilots are, right? Y'all do that. We got their names. We know who they are. We're talking. These are FAA records. We know who Jeffrey Epstein's pilots on the Lolita Express were, and the New York Times is not talking to them or investigating them or their families. Yes. They're not looking at nothing.
Not a drop.
Nothing at all.
That's it.
However, for Cesar Chavez, they just went straight down his Rolodex and said, call everybody and everybody they know. And, well, I'll be damned. Yeah. Yes. Hey, brother, he's got folk on the island. There are people who've been to the damn island. There's YouTubers who've been to the island, y'all. What?
That's right.
YouTubers have been to the island. They know who the ferry captain is. Wow. I remember he had a boat captain and whatnot that would sail them around from one island to another because
Yes.
there was so many girls he had down there, he couldn't keep them on one island. Okay, do you realize how many people that you haven't talked to yet? That they haven't talked to, haven't spoken to? Okay, we can't talk to the captain. That's fine. He got a mama, he got brothers, he got sisters, he got an ex-wife, he got something.
Yes.
Treat him like you did Trayvon Martin. Anybody in the family, we gonna talk to them and lay this on them. And yet that's not happening.
Yes, sir.
Now, why do you think that is?
Wow.
I'll let you have the last word.
Jason, if that ain't orchestrated, I don't know what is, man. This is just unbelievable. The list is endless. And this just leads down. it's just tremendous. They consider it good journalism. This is just tremendous smut. You trying to derail the stuff and you sending things different directions. And that's the bottom line, man. Have an excellent broadcast as always, Jason. Thank you much, man.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, yeah, y'all remember he had boats out there and everything. If y'all needed to get around, some of the folk who were trying to get to the island, remember, because he wanted to sail from one place to another. I think Howard Lutnick talked about that. I wasn't on the plane. I was on the boat. And okay. So, yeah, Jeffrey had whatever you needed. Jeffrey had whatever you need. And nobody is looking into that whatsoever. All them chicks with Bill Gates and all them females around Elon Musk, what you asking about? They're not talking to anybody. They haven't tracked down them chicks in Russia or nothing. All of a sudden, the New York Times can't talk to any of the people in your circumference, the degrees of separation. All of a sudden, they can't get in touch with them. They don't know what to do. Isn't that amazing how that works? Well, folks, I wouldn't want to leave it undone here tonight. I wouldn't want to leave it undone. But I do feel it is necessary for me to go a little bit further in detail here because, among other things, there was another story this week. About 3 years ago, the rapper Afro Man of the famous eponymous Look It Up, of the famous and infamous song Because I Got High, for those of you back in the early 2000s. I mean, he's a cool comedy rapper. Well, he's out there in Ohio. He's just living life. And there was a white female criminal informant who told the sheriff's department that he had drugs and had kidnapped somebody and had it all at his house. So basically just straight up swatting. He's a well-known member of the community. Everybody knew him. And of course, the police, that's not the issue. The issue is, okay, we got an excuse to come and violate your rights. They could have very easily gotten in touch with him. You know damn well ain't gonna be no shootout with damn me Afro Man. So what they did was they came and they busted up his gate. They came and knocked his damn front door off the hinges. And they didn't find anything.
Nigga, what?
After doing all that, they didn't find anything. There was nothing. Didn't get anything after busting all this stuff up. There was nothing to get. Nothing at all. Well, Afro Man decided that the pen is mightier than the sword, but the microphone and the pen are mightier than all. So Afro Man did what he did, and he said, you know what? If y'all want to disturb my peace, I'm going to make y'all famous. I'm going to make y'all famous. So he said, you know what? I'm going to hit the studio. I'm going to hit the studio. And I'm going in. And so he got each of the cops, he got their names, he looked in their backgrounds, and he said, you know what? Yeah, we're going to go ahead and start talking about you. So he made songs for all of them. And it was probably one of the craziest court cases you ever saw. One of the craziest. We're going to go ahead and walk that down for y'all right quick. This was one of the songs. Now, what happened was they sued him for defamation. The cops who knocked in his front door, illegal search and the whole damn 9 yards, they wound up suing him for defamation for making those songs about them. Afro Man stood on business. I mean, from the time they showed up till he got to court, he wasn't backing off for nothing. He didn't apologize. He didn't water it down. He didn't dilute it. In the court, he was defiant the whole damn time. It was beautiful to see. Beautiful. A lovely thing. So for those of you who didn't know, right before he went to court, he put out another tune.
Afro Man will bring it to ya. Afro Man is gonna do ya. Afro Man is gonna screw ya. My proof's on the internet. Brian Newland is a flag. William is a pedophile. If I'm telling folks the truth, how come I have to go to trial? Newland sexting kids, that's true. Now he's stealing my money too. My proof's on the internet. Afro Man will bring it to ya. Afro Man is gonna do.
Y'all should have just left him alone to keep making songs about getting high. Y'all should have just left him alone. Why did y'all make yourselves the focus of his next single?
Tasha Chamberlain is a confidential informant. Roy Gabbard is the judge that signs fictitious warrant. This whole situation is totally their fault. Don't rape me, don't get videoed and caught.
Because Afro Man had cameras all through his house, and he put the footage out on the internet. That's what really got them all steamed, is that he had the footage, and so he didn't have to go through some FOIA request or whatever. He just put the video on the internet, and that sent them over the edge.
Prosecutor David Kelly turned to jelly when they fell. Coward ran to Arizona so he wouldn't catch the hell. Kimmy tried to dodge us. Rogers tried to retire and dip like a rat leaving a sinking ship.
So yeah, they should have just left him alone to make his little songs. I mean, he's on tour and whatnot. It's some pudgy white women there and everything. It's just let him go ahead and do his thing. No, y'all wanted to bring him out of retirement, so now you reap the whirlwind.
All you crooked cops in the world that's doing wrong, you better stop, you crooked cop, before I put you in a song. Make your family and your friends laugh out loud and sing along. My proof's on the internet. Afro Man will.
So yeah, man, and this Greg the Hammer Valentine looking person here, this is allegedly a female.
Nigga, what?
I mean, but when she opens her mouth and speaks with that baritone, it's just like everybody was just thinking the operation was a success. Yeah. The operation was a success. I mean, it didn't make you look like a woman, but the operation was a success. So, yeah, there was that going on. So, then they were, this is Afro Man with, them talk. I think they were talking to her. No, because she was upset about that. I don't want to play some of these things here because it's kind of explicit. This guy right here, this fella right here, Randy Walter, he got upset because Afro Man made a song not basically, saying that he had sex with Randy Walter's wife and got rich. And Randy was very, very upset about this.
Called a son of a bitch before, correct? Not published, but yes.
Randy Walters is the son of a bitch.
You've been called a.
So yeah, it was all right. Yeah. Okay. Since I got y'all here, I'm not going to do too much, but I might as well go ahead and show just one there. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I don't think I actually can play the whole thing, but This is what happens when you violate a rapper's rights. He goes to the studio.
Randy Walters is the son of a bitch. Ooh, yeah, that's why I fucked his wife and got filthy rich. Ooh, yeah.
Got the Walter Troutman going. He went Soul Train on him.
Fix my dough. Fix my dough. Stop stealing my dough. Stop stealing my dough. Stop disconnecting my video. Fix my dough. Fix my dough. Stop stealing my dough. Stop stealing my dough. Stop disconnecting my video. Fix my dough. Fix my dough.
So yeah, you ask for that and that kind of happens. Then there was another one. Boy, this one right here kind of took off. This is a female cop, by the way. As a matter of fact, I can't even play that one. Actually, I can't even play that one. That one is, yeah, I can't even play that one. I can't. I know a lot of y'all like, play it, Jason. No, I can't really play that one. Afro Man showed up in court wearing his American flag suit. Imagine testifying against a man dressed like the national anthem. I mean, with the afro, the sunshades, y'all, he was straight beasting. He was straight beasting on it.
She ain't other.
Okay, I can't even play that, y'all. It's I can't even play that one. I just can't. I want to get where they got the voice, but yeah. Now, here he was testifying in court. I want y'all to hear how he was talking. Does he sound timid? Does he sound scared? Does he sound conciliatory, or does he sound straight up defiant?
You remember in your deposition when I asked you why did you bring the news when you picked up the money?
Yeah, I didn't want to get beat up or Epstein at the sheriff's station after I seen him running around my house with AR-15s. So that's why I brought the news and my attorney. So to make sure I got out of that place with my money.
You brought the news to protect you physically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't bring the news because you already knew there was a miscount and you were going to make.
I didn't know nothing about the discount. I didn't know. I figured they stole my money. They turned my cameras off. So if you turn my cameras off, you must got something bad in mind. So yeah, I'm accusing them of it. You know, they turned my cameras off. I can't see what they're doing.
So your testimony under oath here today to these 10 jurors is that you brought the news when you picked up your money to protect you physically from being beat up or shot by the sheriffs, right?
Yes.
All right.
Does he sound timid to any of y'all? All right, now this is the lemon pound cake cop, and the crazy thing here is that for whatever reason, they thought it would be a good idea to play the damn video, because when he enters the house, Afro Man has a lemon pound cake on the table, and old boy's staring at it with lust in his eyes.
Sean,
I'll let y'all see for yourselves. And the other thing is, wait till you hear his damn testimony.
Sean, you were called Officer Pound Cake by Mr. Foreman?
Multiple times.
You
You
were
received hundreds of pound cakes at work.
If you didn't hear that, he said I was called Officer Pound Cake dozens of times, that he received hundreds of pound cakes at work from random people. Let me play that for y'all again.
Sean, you were called Officer Pound Cake by Mr. Foreman?
Multiple times.
You
You
were
received hundreds of pound cakes at work from different people.
Okay. And
He said he received hundreds of pound cakes at work from different people. I guess they said if your big ass was that hungry at Afro Man's house, here, this'll hold you. You wanted to be famous, now you are.
The context of that name comes from a music video that Mr. Foreman created, correct?
I don't know where he got it at, but you'd have to ask him that question.
Okay, well, since you want to play dumb, they brought the lemon pound cake video to court. So for those of you who never saw the video, they're playing this on the monitors and making Officer Sean Cooley sit up here and watch this video talking about him as lemon pound cake.
The Adams County Sheriff kicked down my door. Then I heard the glass break. They found no kidnapping victims, just some living pound cake. Mama's living pound cake. It tastes so nice. It made the sheriff wanna put down his gun and cut him a slice.
Everybody was talking about the fact that when he passed the lemon pound cake, he stopped and paused and looked at it and whatnot. It's like, I thought y'all supposed to be doing a raid. He saw that pound cake and said, damn, this raid. Oh, let me stop for a cake break.
Put down his gun and cut him a slice. Lemon pound cake. He wanna put down his life. Lemon pound cake. Trending on TikTok. Lemon pound cake. He's a family guy. Lemon pound cake. Munchies because he got hot. Lemon pound cake. Pound cake.
Stop it there.
I mean, made him sit there and watch the whole damn diss track in. Y'all can see, look at his face. He could tell this lawsuit was a bad idea. It was at this moment that he realized filing this defamation lawsuit was a bad idea. Right here at this moment, this is when it dawned. He gets the light bulb. Oh man, this was not smart at all. We should not have done this. We'd been better off just saying nothing. So yeah, they brought him to court and said, okay, we got to, by the way, they didn't edit this in court. Now they just shortened it here on YouTube. Now they played the whole damn thing. For each of them, each of the songs that he made about them, they had them on the stand, including for Lisa. They made her sit on the stand and watch the video that he made about her. They made them watch the whole damn video, boy. Now, this one right here, I wanted y'all to see this because, now remember, this is the cop that Afro Man said he had sex with his wife in the song. Okay, some of y'all are like, ooh, that's not good. That's defamation. Certainly, this is a slam dunk. Well, it kind of was right up until they put Mr. Walters here on the stand. And I'll let you all hear what he had to say when he was asked about Afro Man having sex with his wife.
So you're claiming that is the defamation statement, is that he said he had sex with your wife?
Yes.
Okay. And that's painted you in a false light?
It's caused tremendous pain in my life.
I'll get to that. We have to go through false light first. So does it paint you in a false light?
Yes, that my wife is cheating on me with Mr. Foreman.
But we all know that's not true, correct?
I don't know.
I know his attorney was sitting in the chair just like, what the hell, dude? Where did that come from? Why did you think that was the right response to that question? I'm going to play it again so y'all can see. This is what he was the only fella that Afro Man said something that you could actually construe as defamation. Because if you never actually slept with a woman, I slept with your wife. Okay. And when you asked him, yes, that's defamation. Listen, are you sure? We know this, right? I don't know. Okay, so there's a question in your mind as to whether or not that happened. So you're not sure if it happened, but you're claiming it's defamation. It sounds like you and the missus got something to discuss.
So you're claiming that is the defamation statement, is that he said he had sex with your wife?
Yes.
Okay. And that's painted you in a false light?
It's caused tremendous pain in my life.
I'll get to that. We have to go through false light first. So does it paint you in a false light?
Yes, that my wife is cheating on me with Mr. Foreman.
But we all know that's not true, correct?
I don't know.
So
I think he was trying to be too clever by half. I think what he was trying to, I got to be his defense attorney because clearly he didn't have no representation. I think what he was trying to communicate was, well, obviously it's not clear because we have to file a defamation lawsuit and people are disputing it. So I think what he's trying to communicate is, well, obviously he said, we all know this, right? And well, obviously we don't all know this. I think he was trying to respond to that. And instead it comes across as him saying, I don't know if they did. So it's just like, dude. Folks, this is what happens when you fight the police, when you take things to trial. This is why the prosecutors bring down as much pressure to get you to settle as they can, because if everybody brought their cases to trial, this kind of stuff would happen more often. The prosecutors are way more competent and mentally sound, although that's a specious statement, than the police in these statements. So yeah, y'all heard that right there. It's just, are you sure about it? I don't know.
false light.
Yes, that my wife is cheating on me with Mr. Foreman.
But we all know that's not true, correct?
I don't know.
So I think that's what he's trying to communicate, but dude, it sure as hell don't come off that way. So yeah, he was just doing the most. He was doing the most. So anyway, the case came up and whatnot, and I mean, just completely vindicated on all counts. Oh yeah, this was the ex-wife of one of the people. This is the ex-wife of one of the cops. I'm not going to play the whole thing because they were referring to Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion's thing.
An opinion you like, but
Yeah.
so Miss Groom,
I think what the cop must have said is that this like contributed to his divorce. Well, Afro Man's attorneys went and got his ex-wife and listen to what she had to say.
That's the way I feel.
maybe not an opinion you like, but
Yeah.
so Miss Grooms, has Mr. Foreman's posts about Sean or any of the general posts about the Adams County Sheriff's Department as a whole affected your life any at all?
No.
Would you believe it would have affected your life while you were married to Sean?
If it had any effect, I guess that would be the time it would have an effect.
But as his spouse, you would have expected it.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't want you to go into too many detail, but is it fair to say that Mr. Foreman, the posts about the police department and everything had not a damn thing to do with your relationship between you and Sean and why it came to an end?
No, it did not.
So the posts.
They went and they got one of the cops' ex-wives. Put her on the stand. This man's claiming that this affected his life. He wants damages, and she's saying that this wouldn't have affected us, and this had no bearing on our relationship, and it wouldn't have been a problem. They got the ex-wife on the stand right here. Some of y'all have had some nasty divorces. There are some people listening to me tonight, and you all have had some nasty, contentious divorces. I don't know if yours was as bad as this. Oh, I do not know if your divorce was as bad as this. They went and got his ex-wife on the stand, and she said, no, this didn't have no effect. This wouldn't have affected anything. So got the ex-wife up there. So Afro Man's defense was thorough. His defense was thorough. So this was after he won the case and whatnot. So Yeah, man, I'm telling you, it was good to see. If you really want something, go look up about that Lisa chick here. I mean, when she starts talking, oh boy. When she starts talking, it's a mess. But Afro Man won his case, y'all. He won his case. The police are mad as hell. They're upset. They had to take the stand, and they couldn't make a stand. They were out there and whatnot. They just found out, man, you'd have been just better off just going home. You'd have been far better off just not saying nothing. If you had done that, this would have worked out for you a whole lot better. But of course, they couldn't be bothered to do that. They could not be bothered to do that. Instead, they decided, well, don't worry, we're still in America, and what are the realistic chances that white supremacy is not going to work out here? And yeah, it really didn't. It really didn't. So hopefully they've learned something here, and hopefully it stands as a testament for all of us. Hopefully it stands as a testament for all of us here that if you make things difficult enough, folks will stop that nonsense. He actually had the ability to defend himself in court and outside the court. So he actually had the ability to respond. Most other people have to sit up here and, accept that kind of thing. Most other folks have to. Well, he didn't have to do that. Didn't have to do that. I'm going to see if I can find this real quick for y'all because, man, I want y'all to hear what the hell she was sounding like. It was just insane, man. When she starts talking, it was just kind of insane to hear that. Because, I mean, she was sitting up there trying to speak, and it's like, I'll be damned. I think I found one video for it here. I'll see if I can get that up for you all because I just want y'all to hear the folk who were suing him and what they were talking like and what they were saying. This is the female officer here now. You all can take a look on your screens here. This is the female officer. You can hear it for yourselves.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? As this, you shall answer unto God.
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. You be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
Lisa Phillips,
And Lisa, where do you live?
Adams County.
How long have you lived in Adams County?
At least 24 years or so.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a deputy sheriff.
When did you start your career in law enforcement?
2001.
And what were you doing at that time?
I graduated high school in 2000 and went to the police academy.
Yeah, you notice that she keeps trying to give very short answers. Did you notice that? So at the beginning, trying to give very short answers because when they have to give long sentences, that's when it really starts to come out. When she's got to talk for an extended period of time. So she's trying to be real short, but the more she starts talking, y'all are all having the same reaction everybody did when they first heard. It's like, are you sure this name is Lisa?
What academy did you go to?
Greenfield Police Academy in Hillsborough.
And how long have you known you wanted to be a police officer?
Since I was a kid.
What was your first position then out of the academy?
Part-time at West Union Police Department.
And then when did you was your next job a deputy sheriff?
Yes, sir.
When did you start as a deputy sheriff?
September of 2002.
And do you have family here in Adams County?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you have a husband?
Yes, sir.
You have a child?
Yes, sir.
How old is your child?
She's 21.
Dang, she's getting upset
Did she go to
already?
school here in
Dang.
Adams County?
Yes, sir.
Do you have other family in the area?
I got grandma and cousins and family like that.
And did you ever serve as a school resource officer?
Yes, sir, I did.
Tell us about that.
I took the job full-time at the sheriff's office as a school resource officer. Is what I started off as, deputy sheriff, school resource officer.
This person sounds like Brock Lesnar.
Then was there for the kids, just keep the kids safe, out of any kind of danger. I also was there for the kids, as far as, bonding with the kids, and keeping them, as far as like way of life. You don't need just you need somebody else to be there, Sometimes they need somebody to talk to.
Yeah, y'all notice that voice keeps dropping. That's why I didn't want to stop at the beginning, because I wanted y'all to hear this person was trying to sit up here and talk real brief and give real short answers at the beginning. But you notice how this voice is continually dropping. And that's why I said the more she talks, the more you gonna hear what I wanted you to hear. This voice just keep getting lower.
I did that quite a bit.
And did you sometimes greet the kids when they got dropped off at school?
In the morning, I directed traffic at the school.
And did you have occasion to know any of Mr. Foreman's children?
I don't know him by name, but I have let him out of the vehicle before. Or not let him out, but greet him.
So I think that's enough of that, but I wanted y'all to hear what was going on, and that was the Afro Man trial. It was a wild ride, to be sure. It was a wild ride, to be certain. The damn judge looked so damn upset. This is the judge up here. He was so damn upset when the jury came back with the verdict.
It's been an emotional case. It's been a well-tried case. The lawyers did what they should do. The parties did what they should do. I just want to remind everybody that how the verdict comes out isn't something of public comment. So if you have an emotional attachment to the verdict, don't express it. Wait till you get out of the building before you let your emotions out. In all circumstances, the jury finds in favor of the defendant. No plaintiff verdict prevailed. It's been an emotional case.
Boy, the judge was so damn unhappy. You can just see the judge is obviously displeased. And if you go back and go watch the trial, because it's online, he was just unhappy. And I'm just like, this is good. Damn! This is good. Y'all can sit there, read them, and weep.
And deal with it.
They can sit there and read them and weep. All right, let me go ahead and check here. I had some folks sitting on Zoom. I had to cover the Afro Man thing. I'm never going to get a chance to do this again. But yes, I was watching that trial there to see what was going on. By the way, for a minute there, they were trying to make this the damn trial of the century for a minute. So some of your hip hop reporters and folk on YouTube. So for a hot minute there, folks were trying to treat this like it was the O.J. Simpson trial for about 3 seconds. They were trying to treat it like that. I'm like, y'all are just so thirsty to see black men go down in court, man. Y'all are just too eager for something, anything. We caught this rapper Meek Mill jaywalking. We will have all the highlights from the trial today. Really? All right, let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again. Thank you all very much for your patience. I think I got rolling over here on Zoom. What's on your mind, sir?
Man, I don't know why you had me come after this Afro Man thing.
Just lucky, I guess, but go ahead.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Very informative. But I want to get back onto that quote unquote Latino or whatever civil rights leader thing. It's crazy how they were able to take down his monuments in a jiffy, but when it comes to like a George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, people who had relationships that were abusive towards black women, their statues is a great trial of the century that they have to argue and debate these things.
Oh yeah, because they're not the target.
Yeah, so that was one of the things I did want to highlight. and that was kind of like nerve-wracking. So there is a precedent that's being shown that when men engage in these type of behaviors, that they do remove them immediately. There was no votes, there was no city council type of thing going on.
Oh no debate, no discussion, no nothing. They just going straight to work.
Yeah, so when you even hear about even Christopher Columbus, the statues being taken down, and these WASPs were in their feelings about it, it makes you wonder, like, really, like you sat here and had this other guy. The other thing I wanted to bring up as well is crazy how these individuals, like, it seemed like you said that the government, or you alleged that the government planted them there. I'm not going to contest that, but it seems
I'm not alleging anything. I'm simply saying that, by the way, a person could be forgiven if they came to that kind of conclusion based on what they've seen. I'm not alleging anything. I'm just saying there's a number of possibilities, and that there's a person could be forgiven if they were thinking, wow, this timing is kind of suspicious. I think that's just due diligence.
All right. My bad. I didn't want to misrepresent what you were saying. But the thing that I want to highlight is that I'm starting to see that these other quote unquote minority groups, they're the ones who are eroding the civil rights. There was an issue with an African and the Chinese guy that was messing with things with the college admissions under the guise of civil rights. Now you have this type of issue, and it seemed like it's like a last ditch plan. Like, if they couldn't undermine civil rights this way, they're using these migrants, and etc. to erode it another way. And what's your thoughts on that?
Look, when they knock something down, they want to knock down everything. And the real thing is, all of their useful idiots and their useful acolytes and their henchmen who sat in their flunkies who went along with it to aid and abet it. It's like, oh no, you ain't coming with them. You're not coming up. So for the Asians, okay, we're going to back Ed Blum. All right, and they already got the all in the trick bag for it. Then again, they've been had that. And so for the Latinos, we're going to be honorary white folk, and we're going to go ahead and make sure you all remember what the pecking order is. And just understand, identity has to have historical roots. You can't make an identity, a quick mix, instant serve identity. It's not the way that works. We didn't create an identity out of whole cloth here. What we've done is delineation is about clarifying our identity. We're not creating one. If you remove Cesar Chavez, the problem is, for the Latino community, all their eggs are in that basket. That's it right there. You don't have anything else beyond that.
Yeah, they're going to point to like a Fat Joe or something. But
that's what I'm saying. They're going to point to somebody in music or entertainment, but as far as politics and social movement stuff, they're about to erase that. So what I'm saying is that the entire so-called Latino civil rights movement just got erased in one weekend.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in this other aspect. I think Brother Tyreek mentioned about this, that there was more statues and more names on buildings in California than Martin Luther King. This man did not even have the same influence as a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, but he was more out there. And that was another problem that I had about the whole thing with this situation, is that I'm looking at the money that was invested into this guy, the things that should have gone to our civil rights leaders and stuff of that nature. And the other thing is that it's crazy how they try to make civil rights an everybody, all lives matter thing when it's really a black thing. And this just kind of cements that even more. The other thing is the nerve that how they try to put these extramarital affairs, the abuse of women, on righteous men, black men. And when it comes to these other groups of men, when they're in leadership and authority, they are known to abuse their power. They're the ones that are toxic. They're the ones that all these women are complaining about indirectly. And I just don't like how they try to demonize black male leadership in our community. So I just wanted to chime in on that and salute to the broadcast. That Afro man had me cracking up, man. I never laughed so hard in a minute.
Well, he's good for that. And I want to put that in its proper context. I didn't want y'all to miss that. But as far as Cesar Chavez is concerned, all the other folks who thought that they were going to hang on to the white supremacist cape and whatnot, they're letting them know, oh, no, we're snipping your cords too. We're snipping all of you. When we get the Negroes done, it's like you're going to be the last ones we get. But we're going to get you. You're still on the list. Everybody figured they were going to help them gang up on us. And what they're finding out is, oh, no. You're on the list too. You're on the list. They're not going to leave this left undone. And they're not. And in this case here, I consider this to be particularly diabolical because they've let for the last 5 decades all these folks put their eggs in this basket. All their chips were on Cesar Chavez. There hasn't been anybody else anointed. There isn't anyone else. This is all they have. And to anybody who's been to Los Angeles, in my documentary films, y'all see me drive up and down Cesar Chavez Boulevard. And in Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas, Los Angeles, there's a number of cities across America that got a Cesar Chavez Boulevard. Other than that, that was supposed to be their MLK Boulevard, remember? That's supposed to be their MLK Boulevard. Everywhere you go is Cesar Chavez. And what I'm about to say is MLK is still sitting there. Chavez is about to be gone. And y'all put the very folk in charge to do it. You voted for the very people who are going to do this to you.
Do you think that they're going to put that LULAC president guy? Again, I'm being kind of facetious. Do you think that they're going to put that LULAC president guy who said, let the Negroes fight on their own? You think they're going to put that guy in? Because he was fighting for civil rights too, though.
No. Okay, here's the problem. The problem is it doesn't matter what they do at this point. Maybe you can name it after Edward James Olmos or something. I mean, I don't know. The problem is like I say, Chavez is the one that they did the most hyping of. He's the one with the heritage, the name recognition. Brother, it takes decades to make something like that happen. Even if it's kind of AstroTurf, but that's it. You have not put that into LULAC or La Raza or anything else. You don't have anybody second stringer on the bench that you can elevate. You don't have one. They don't have the name recognition. They don't have the identifiability. It ain't there. Cesar was it. He was it. And with that being gone, I'm like, this is a chess move right here. He goes and basically it's all erased. Even if you remove his signs and replace it with another Latino, brother, they don't know who he is. And you can't make a chosen one. The people got to accept that. So you can change the name, but he's not going to have Cesar's prestige, the history behind it, the touch points across the board. He's not going to have it. So, yeah, y'all are going to change the name, I'm sure. Whatever you replace it with, it'll be meh.
I want to say thank you for allowing me to speak on this topic and salute to you on the broadcast for today. Very informative.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, I mean, you can take Cesar Chavez's name down. You can take the signs down or whatever. It's going to cost you a bunch of money to replace all those. You can do that. Redo all your maps and all that stuff. You can do that. But, I mean, who are you going to replace it with? Whoever it is, nobody's going to know them. They're not going to recognize them. There'll be a few folk who do, but not to the magnitude of Cesar Chavez. I mean, Oscar de la Hoya, maybe? Julio Cesar Chavez? I'm not even being facetious. I'm not being facetious. I'm like, as far as name recognition, Julio Cesar Chavez, maybe? Other than that, I'm like, if you allow them to do this, just understand you don't really have somebody somebody in the chat room says Cesar Chavez Road's about to become Charlie Kirk Avenue. What? Don't put it past them. Don't put it past them. I don't know, man. Like I said, just some entertainers, but as far as like social activists and political activists, this is going to be rough. All right, we got True FBA here on the line. What's on your mind, brother?
Hey, Jason. What's going on, fella? I wanted to go back to a couple of points that you made about whose culture has the issues and whose doesn't. exhibit A or example one is a couple of years ago there was this kid. Well, he wasn't a kid; he was a 22-year-old man who played shortstop for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, named Wander Franco. Okay, so he makes it to the major leagues, and not only does he make it to the major leagues, but he's about to be signed. Well, no, he signed a long-term $186 million contract. Okay, and he's at the same time he's carrying on a relationship with a 14-year-old, or a couple of 14-year-olds, I think. And the parent, the mom, is not only looking the other way, she's assisting in this. Okay, it cost him. It cost him his career. It cost him $186 million. But yeah, no, that's how deeply ingrained it is in certain Latino, well, maybe even all of Latino culture, but certainly the Dominican one. The other one, exhibit 2, is the someone who I would consider to be the pre-Epstein, which was Hef, and a famous model that you may or may not have heard of named Brooke Shields. He allegedly had taken nudes of her at the permission, or at least the looking the other way of her mother, under the age of 18. Yeah, she was taking nudes probably over at the mansion. And then later on, I don't know if I'm not a big movie guy anymore, but I remember a movie that she made. I think she was still not quite 18 yet. A movie called The Blue Lagoon, which was basically would basically qualify as Kitty Corn. It starred her and some other guy who were shipwrecked on an island, and they were running around the island nude, and basically procreating and all of those things that appeal to a certain age group of man.
Yeah, I mean, look, back in the 80s, you talking about Blue Lagoon and Brooke Shields. I mean, back in the 80s, we had a number of movies like that. For example, one that comes to mind for me immediately is, back in the 80s, there was a Tom Hanks movie called Big. Back when Tom Hanks came out as a comedy actor in the beginning, but Big was kind of riding that line. It was a comedy film, and it was also dramatic. But y'all remember the movie Big? And it's about an adolescent boy who dreams and wishes about being an adult, and then the next morning he wakes up and he's an adult. And then he gets him a girlfriend, a grown woman who works at this corporation. And that's his woman and whatnot, and they sleep together and everything else. And at the end of the film, Tom Hanks, lets him out of her car, and he's walking down the road. And in the first shot is Tom Hanks as a grown man, and they show the woman, and she's just looking really longingly. And then the next shot, you see this kid wearing a suit that's way too big for him, looking at her, and he turns around and walks away.
That's been the narrative that's gone through a lot of films for a lot of years. That whole,
Okay, but brother, since we own this, if we gonna be on it, let's be on it. For anybody who's gonna sit up here and say that I'm exaggerating or that you're exaggerating, folks, do we even need to talk about Japanese anime? What? Damn! Right? Damn! What? Damn! I mean, brother, if we gonna go there with it, let's go with it. Okay, but by the way, not just anime, manhwa. Damn! Oh, you all don't want me to remind you about that, do you? For those of you who know manga, okay, but do you know your manhwa? For my Korean friends. And then, of course, you have equivalents of all these in Chinese. So, by the way, if you want to talk about cultures that condone that to the point that you're making laws in America to say, oh, you can't sell books like that, bro, they've been doing that. In anime and manga, this been legit now for decades and still is. And when you go on YouTube, your white YouTubers, especially the white supremacist ones, by the way, your white supremacist geekers and video game heads and haters of black folk in movies, these are the biggest defenders of keeping quote-unquote Japanese media exactly the way it is without tainting it with, quote, Western sensibilities. I'm like, that's not tainting it with Western sensibilities. Those are Western sensibilities.
Exactly. From the unshowered couch crew.
So you want to talk about historically what cultures accept here? I'm not making this up. This is legit and legal. And just to avoid YouTube messing with me here, hey, folks, we don't even want to discuss the phrase age of consent. You don't want us to do some globe trotting through Europe today. Through Europe today. Looking at you, France. Y'all don't want us to do globe trotting through Europe and through Asia today to go check out who's who on age of consent. You don't want me to do that today. So we're just going to leave that off the table. Those of you who want to, that's your homework for tonight. You can just go to Google and type in age of consent plus, and then you type in any European country you want to and any Asian country you want to, and brace yourself.
Yikes.
Oh, I'm sorry. And the Middle East. Asia, the Middle East. Yeah. Southern parts of Africa. What? Okay, yeah, we going there. South America. All right. We can get to it if y'all want to. That's y'all's homework for anybody who wants to dispute it. Just type in age of consent and then the plus sign and then type in any country you want and watch the results that come back.
Yeah.
I'll let you have the last word.
That's all I got, brother. Appreciate the broadcast.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Yeah, y'all don't want us to go down that rabbit hole. I had to remind you all about your anime and your manga. I had to remind you about that everybody looks like a little girl in their anime and their manga. All the females look like little girls. Okay, if they're in high school, sexual content don't mean nothing. You got entire manga and anime about high school girls engaging in sexual acts. Some of them were on Netflix. What? Y'all know it. I can't speak for Crunchyroll, although I wouldn't be surprised. Sony owns Crunchyroll now, but by the way, some of this stuff I know for a fact was on Netflix because I saw it. But that's the norm in anime. Okay, but go skipping through your manhwa while you're at it, and you'll realize it ain't just an anime thing. And they have no problem depicting high schoolers performing in sexual activities. They ain't got no problem with that. It's only when we show up that it becomes an issue. When we show up, you can't roll like that. But everybody else looks at us like we crazy. Let them kids be kids. Sit your ass down. Sit your ass down. All right, let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again real quick. We got Brother Elijah up here on Zoom. What's on your mind, brother?
Hey, big brother. Good evening to you, big one. I got a question because tonight's broadcast is very telling, and it makes me think about all these ethnic groups because you're mentioning the Mexicans, all right, and I think about every other Hispanic group, particularly like the Puerto Ricans, the Cubans, and all of them. That's pretty much the mainstay in America. And the ones that's probably not Latino, the Haitians. Why do they keep being dumb and stupid and keep allowing themselves to be political footballs to the same people who never liked them and never will like them?
Well, because their experience with the dominant society is different from ours. Okay. Remember, the dominant society uses the soft open hand and the closed fist on them people. For us, it's just closed fist. That's all we get.
Right.
So with these other folk, they get a bunch of regaling words and a bunch of platitudes and compliments and y'all are so swaggy and so great. Why, take a look at Dubai in the Middle East. Never mind, Reagan called y'all sand niggas. What? just never mind that. But dude, your rich culture and heritage, and they believe that. The other thing is they aspire to whiteness, which is the biggest factor of all. They aspire to that. Looking at you, anime, with your blonde-headed characters.
Right.
Looking at you. So, brother, the bottom line is they aspire to whiteness. They aspire to it. So those two factors together, they get a lot. Remember, the whole reason why we have to think about the tether class is because what do they get told? Oh, you all are so much smarter than our Negroes in America. Why, I certainly am. And so it becomes that kind of situation there. So their experience is different than ours. It's only once they try to go cash in their honorary whiteness check that it comes back null and void. That's when the alarm bells go off. But for most of them, they'll never actually try to cash in that check. So they don't actually find out until way later. But when they get ready to, whenever they try to cash that check in, that's the wake-up call.
Brother.
Ain't that right, Marco Rubio? Yeah, he tried to cash in his whiteness check, and how did that work out? All right, his own state, and the Cubans chose Trump over him in his own state. So that's the reality of it. So yeah, they talk about liking your women, and as black men, we learned about that centuries ago. They don't love black women; they just like sleeping with black women. That's not love. The Latinas, they go for it big time, and the fellas sit up here and go for it because that's currency. They think that they're buying something, and in reality, you're not buying anything. You're not buying anything.
Jason, you and Professor Black Truth in particularly always have taught us white supremacy loves a cool prank that takes years to pay off. I'm saying that to say this. Now that these conspirators helped tear down their own civil rights figure, okay, this wasn't white people, this was his own fellow Mexican people. Now I have this question. Now that he's going to be gone and out the picture very soon, what do they think or believe that? What's their end game? That's my question.
Well, that's the whole thing that I got out of that. Y'all remember the first question I asked y'all was, why so long? Why now? He's been dead for decades. Why now? Why does this have to come out now? Why are they doing this now? I'm not here to debate the legitimacy of the accusations or not. What I'm saying is, wow, this is really odd that this is popping up out of nowhere. Where was this decades ago when it would have mattered? When it would have made a real difference? It seems to me like there was something you were trying to accomplish, and that it would have been inconvenient for this to happen then. And the way that this is all happening like a whirlwind now, and they just taking stuff down with no vote, no censor, no nothing. It's like, oh, okay, I guess he's outlived his usefulness, and now it's time to do it. That you feel like in this environment, this will be the least amount of pushback and the least amount of, upheaval. And okay, now's the time to remove him. And we'll send the women out to go do it for us. Oh, you see, we have to defend Latino women now. We got to do it. We can't just can't do that now. Ain't that right, Bill Cosby? We got to look out for Latino women now. That's what I see happening here. And I'm just like, okay, well, you sure didn't seem to be that concerned before now. Where was all this concern for the last 3 damn decades? Where was this concern for 4 decades when the man was alive? What do you know now that you didn't know back in the 80s? Why is the urgency of it here now? So for this to all pop up, I'm just like, okay, I've seen this, but this is orchestrated. Bill Cosby, 50 damn women jump up at the same time. Which is why I'm telling y'all, it's like, okay, well, I'm not saying that the allegations are false. I'm just saying, wow, for all this to be happening at once, we've seen this before, haven't we? So I'm just like, okay, is this totally organic? Is this totally organic, or is there somebody behind it?
Big brother, I'm going to be totally honest and transparent with you. All right. I'm not putting on the cape for no other ethnic group. But when I did my research on Cesar Chavez, the man died in 1993. He died 5 months before my 9th birthday in August of 93. I say that to say this. with all due respect, I don't believe any of these allegations under no circumstances. 33 years is a long time to come out. And also, this same man, like how y'all always taught us, when they are done with their tools, they break their tools. This man has shown historically he is not credible in any sense of our imagination. I believe the government put these women out here, set them up. Hey, we want to get rid of this guy. I put a little bug in the air, gave them some, paid them off, and made all these allegations because you said it earlier. This man is not here to defend himself. So, with all due respect, I don't agree or accept any of their allegations. I believe they're lying. I believe they were put out there in front of us to see so they can destroy him. I'm not putting on no cape for him, but 33 years is too long, big brother.
I can't go so far as to say that it's not true that they're lying, because we got notes and documentation, some other things that certainly I think need to be verified first. But taking at face value, obviously it seems there was some untoward behavior happening. Sure. I'm not even arguing or disputing that. I'm just saying, by the way, what was stopping this from coming out decades ago? And why now? If you've had this all this time, why did you sit on it all this time? And I'm like, oh, well, that sounds familiar. We already know how we gonna take you down.
Yes, sir.
There were a bunch of other people who could have been chosen besides Cesar Chavez. Why did he get to lead the farm workers? Why him? There were a bunch of other people, including the woman Huerta next to him. So why him? Who made that call? Was that made by the Mexicans or was that made by the Blancos? Who made that call to select Cesar Chavez? Because whoever did that, what if they knew then, oh, he's into all kinds of dirty stuff, he's the one we want to promote. So if the day ever comes we need to take him down, he's already compromised. Ain't that right, President Trump, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton? You get the idea. All of them knee deep in dirt. Okay, that's the one we want to push because he already knows if he don't toe the line, well, we already got the goods on you.
Right.
We already got you, so if you don't do exactly, you step out of line once, and we're going to get them girls out there to sing. And that'll be the end of you. So, yeah, as long as you play ball, you good.
Hey, big brother, I'm going to say this and I'm going to land my plane. Nothing surprises me with President Devil Trump. What he would say about somebody that was in his own administration, somebody that was in the government, all right, because President Trump never forgave the fact that Robert Mueller was a special prosecutor and everything like that. And can we just be very honest? People are asking, what has America come to? America has never had any moral values. Never. It's always been the foundation of Black Americans. Because this, like how you mentioned before, when people were talking about with the brother, the caller, talking about George Washington, this and that, how does this country have moral values? And you had slavery, you had rape, you had incest. To this day, there was a devil that got arrested for bestiality. Okay? America has never been built on any type of morality and any sense of our imagination. So I'm not surprised with what Devil Trump did to Robert Mueller. May he rest in peace for whatever it's worth. But this is America's always been nasty. They're just showing themselves more and more.
Well, here's my thing about the historical aspect of these things.
Yes, sir.
For what I hear, I'm not here to erase George Washington or Thomas Jefferson. As a matter of fact, I openly oppose erasing them. People who forget their history are doomed to repeat it. I do not want George Washington and Thomas Jefferson erased. I want their position properly clarified. I do not want you giving people a fairy tale and a fiction about them. That's what I don't want.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can talk about crossing the Potomac and you can talk about the Bill of Rights. Just don't leave out the fact that he didn't mean all men. Stop saying that he meant all men. You can show what he said all men, but you need to clarify what he meant by that. This is what he said. Now let's discuss what he meant. And it's very clear what he meant. The problem is in the system of white supremacy, you're not allowed to discuss what he meant. So you get a phony, fictional George Washington. So you see, I cannot respect your founding fathers because you're not allowing me to meet them. You sent me some fictional Marvel Comics character. You have not, I know who the man was. So we ain't got nothing to discuss until we discuss the man, not this fictional character, this marketing gimmick that you put together. I have no interest in discussing him, that marketing gimmick with you. Come back when you're ready to discuss the man. We can have a conversation about that. Everything from Washington to Jefferson to your Lincoln Memorial. I want to have a conversation about the actual men. Now, we need to do that. Your statues can, as far as I'm concerned, can stay where they are as long as we put them in their proper context. But that's the problem, brother.
Yes, sir.
They do not want it in its proper context. They want us to do like the Japanese and to worship their founding fathers as gods. I need you all to please understand. They want us to worship them as deities. The only malfunction they see with us is that on the plantations, they could force you to act like you were worshiping them as deities, and they want us to get there with deified reverence and treating them like gods, and we're not doing it. So that's why they have to give you this fictional person who is devoid of any flaws, certainly would never do anything untoward, and then they pile on more lies. They were people of their time. Yeah, that's right. They were white supremacists of their time because you had plenty of abolitionists and anti-slavery people back then. Ben Franklin, the Quakers, and others. Slavery was not just a natural thing that was accepted by everybody. Slavery has not been naturally accepted by everybody since the Old Testament.
Yes, sir.
What was Moses doing? If slavery was just accepted by everybody, what was Moses' story about? Thousands of years ago that was written. So very clearly everybody wasn't on board with slavery. This is a lie the white supremacists tell because, okay, damn, you found out. Well, everybody was okay with it. No, they were not okay with it. Just you. Just like today with the Epstein files. No, everybody is not okay with it. Just you. Just you.
Yes, sir.
And that's what it's always been. So this attempt to deify them and turn them into walking gods, that's what they want, because what are you really worshiping? Whiteness. If I can get you to deify them, then we deify everything that came with them, with just this fictional story you given, which comes back to whiteness. And as far as they're concerned, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. Right there.
Right. Yes, sir.
Your permanent, unchallenged white majority. Or minority, it doesn't matter. Your permanent, unchallenged white aristocracy. Just like in Japan. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I mean, if you all want to know what their ultimate goal is not for you to like the founding fathers. Their ultimate goal is for you to worship them. Their ultimate goal is for you to deify them. That you see them as white daddy, white father. Which is why what they tried to drill in people's heads on the plantations. Do you realize how horrified they are to look up 250 years later and see that it didn't take? We do not regard them as white father and white daddy. We're not looking to them to be our deities or our gods. And it's like, oh hell, the plot failed. So what do you do when we know who they really are and we will not deify them? Well, maybe you can start by telling the truth about them, but we can't do that because then you will not worship them and by extension worship whiteness. Well, that's already there. It's not keeping them from desperately fighting for it. This is called being in denial. They are in denial and still acting as if, well, we just fight hard enough, eventually you niggas bow down. No, it ain't happening. but they're still trying to go for it. So in Latino society, y'all, they got their wake-up call. Cesar Chavez has been obliterated and erased. He has been Epsteined. They have Epsteined Cesar Chavez. And as a result, they have erased and obliterated white Latino historical significance in one fell swoop. Blew it all out in 1 week. And this will be enforced from sea to shining sea. Can't say that we didn't try to warn you. Cannot say that we didn't try to warn you. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I want to thank everyone who has contributed toward tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Arthur Raquello. Thank you very much for your support here tonight, Arthur. To Claude, Rita Chapman, Zavon Scott, Wesley, and everybody else here, thank you very much for your support here as well. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. Click that subscribe button and that notification bell. Join us each and every time that we are here. If you haven't been to blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work at blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program, live or recorded. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, all of my brothers and all of my sisters from all around the world, remember that black is the future and the future is uncompromising.